Welcome to the source.
Someone said Oak State, spelled like
The
oak tree.
Source. Hey, get the source.
Yo! All right, good morning. What's up? So that doesn't start till 10, but we're going to go through a couple of the smaller games that didn't make the cut before. Hope everyone's feeling nice on this Saturday morning. College football week 1, college football week 2, I'm sorry. A lot of action on today. I have like 13 bets open right now, so I'm pretty loaded up. Hopefully they end better than the Northwestern game did last night. That was a little... It's not that I deserve the win because Northwestern blocked a punt. Duke also muffed a punt on their own 10. So a couple things bounced Northwestern's way. But the ending was a little rough because Northwestern very easily could have won that game. And the play call on 3rd and 1 had me enraged.
Yeah.
To say the least. That play call. Holy hell.
Yeah, your running backs finding the holes, but let's do a sweep to the outside on 3rd and 1.
What? On 3rd and 1, it's 4 down territory, obviously, because if you don't convert, the game's over. Dude, throw it up the middle twice. I don't care if the play calling's predictable at that point. You've gotten pushed on 3 or 4 consecutive plays. Really grinds my gears, guys. It really grinds my gears. All right, so yeah, we have like an order set up, but that the order that we set up for the game starts at 10. So there's a couple games that didn't make the cut, and we'll talk about those real quick. First one is Army, Florida Atlantic, and you might be thinking, why the hell would you talk about this game? It's because I have a bet on it. I took the under at 42.5. Do I have a graphic for that, Andy?
You should, yeah. I think you should.
There we go. All right, cool. So, yeah, I took the under in this game, and it might be a little terrible. If you're familiar with the Army team, you might be like, how can you take an under in an Army game? That defense is going to be so bad this year. I mean, they lost everyone from last year's defense. I'm pretty sure Army only brought back 3 starters on the defense from last year. Army's defense is not going to be good this year. But if there's one offense in the FBS that I don't trust to take advantage of a bad defense, it would be this Florida Atlantic offense. Cam Fancher transfers in from Marshall, and the entire rest of the offense is new. So it's a new quarterback with all new pieces, a lot of them through the portal. This offense looked terrible against Michigan State last week. They still covered because Michigan State's offense was in a bit of a pickle. But as far as FAU's offense, I don't trust them at all. So even with Army having a questionable defense, I still don't trust FAU to consistently get the ball up and down the field. And then on the other side, Army's offense actually brings back a ton of production in the offensive line. I expect Army to be able to run the ball pretty successfully this year. But there's one thing FAU could do. The strength of the FAU team is the defensive front. They had a good run defense last year, and I think they brought 5 of their 7 defensive front back this year. They did a really good job against Michigan State last week. Michigan State was able to run the ball a little bit, but their overall defensive effort was really good. So I don't like the matchup for either offense. I also expect the clock to be running. It's an Army game. So, yeah, I bet the under in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Fancher, I don't know who would trust him. I think they're just going to rely on their defense to stay in the game. Honestly, though, Cam Fancher is really bad. The offensive line didn't protect him at all either. So, yeah, I could see that Army defense getting in there, even though it's Army. They're going to run a triple option all game like they normally do. They're going to run the clock. And, I think Army's defense is disciplined. They had no penalties last week against Lehigh. So, and Kyle Lewis, Jack Latour, they're both, great in the run defense. So, yeah, I can see this being a slow, pretty much under game.
Doug Lane in the comments wants to know, hey, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Buckeyes this year? OH. My prediction for Ohio State is 3-9, I think. 4-10 ceiling to 4-8 ceiling. I guess I should say. I'm making a joke. I don't know. It's too. We haven't seen anything. I know that you're expecting 15-0 natty. I get it. Doug Lane, freak. I'll let you know in a couple weeks. How about that? What about Wetzel?
So yeah, the reason I'm not betting on this game, but I'd side FAU, is because I watched both of their games. They played at the same time, and Army was playing Lehigh. FAU was at Michigan State. So obviously, both things kind of went according to plan. FAU didn't play very well. Army controlled that game completely. But I was high on FAU. I do believe in Cam Fancher, and I think that they will only play better than they played, because they did play like shit. But again, they were facing a Big Ten pass rush. That disrupted their offense completely. Army doesn't have that. Army's not going to have a Michigan State level pass rush. And I think people are kind of overreacting to that game for FAU, because like we said, Michigan State's defense is going to be very good at getting to the quarterback. I don't think Army's to do that. So that's why I'm just leaning FAU. But I will give Army credit. They were running all over Lehigh. They could have won that game by 50 if they wanted to. They wound up covering. But that's the only reason I'm not betting it, is because I don't know what to think about both teams, because week one kind of went the way I expected them to. FAU struggled. Army looked great. But again, their competitions are complete opposites. So I have no idea what these teams are. I think FAU is more talented, and I think their defense is better than Army's. But definitely questionable offense so far.
Same team anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Army might be a little stronger at
I
quarterback.
will say they did not stop Aiden Childs from running the ball.
Oh my God!
I'm concerned about Army running the football.
There's no way that he glazed Aiden Childs for 20 minutes last week, and then after that performance is going to try to get that off again on this show.
I'm just saying, he had a couple of overall. Michigan State ran the ball really, really well against FAU. Army's only gonna run the ball, so I'm a little concerned about that, which is why I also don't completely love FAU. And Aiden Childs ran the ball well.
All right, Wetzel.
He didn't throw it well.
All right, Wetzel.
All right, Wetzel.
If you're wondering why Andy's name changes every week, it's because Prop Beaver produces the show. So today,
I'm surprised mine hasn't, to be honest.
Today he's Wetzel. All right, what's our next extra game? Oh, so I didn't bet this one, but I was curious your guys' thoughts. South Alabama, Ohio. But both these offenses surprisingly looking pretty good. I guess we shouldn't say surprisingly, because we had said we expected Ohio to be able to run the ball. So that probably shouldn't be surprising. I don't know what I think about the defenses. Are both these teams going to have bad defenses? I know a lot of people are taking the over in this game. I lean towards the Bobcats. I wanted to hear what you guys think.
I tend to just think Ohio's going to run all over them. We were pretty high on Ohio's run game anyway. And they did what we expected them to do. They ran all over Syracuse, but Syracuse has a weak D-line, and they were all new transfers playing together. But overall, they played pretty well. Parker Navarro didn't make a ton of mistakes in that game. He runs pretty well, too. So I just think they have a rush attack to control the game and possibly even win it. I know some people are higher on this South Alabama team in this spot. That's why they're the favorites. But I would lean Ohio, but also an under, because Ohio's only going to run the ball. Parker Navarro, they're not letting him sling the ball around the field, throw in completions, keep the clock stopping. I think the clock's going to keep running in this one, and this number is pretty high for a team that really wants to run the ball, and they're at home too. So, yeah, I would lean an under more than any side.
Well, yeah, before the season, we said we expected Ohio to lean on the run a lot more this year. It looked very good against Syracuse in the opener. They were running the ball against Syracuse. So very nice-looking opener in terms of the run game. Now they play a South Alabama team whose entire defensive front is gone from last year. Also, Kane Womack's gone. I don't see any path around Ohio making plays in the run game. The problem is, I don't know what I think about Ohio's defense, and Gio Lopez looked pretty nice last week. I mean, I don't know. I think Gio Lopez might be kind of good. Scoop, did you have anything in this game?
I kind of like when Andy. I don't know if I can trust Parker Navarro. I know South Alabama is going to score points. Actually, I didn't think they were. I thought they would take a little while to get used to their offense, but I think South Alabama's defense is going to stop Ohio enough times to win. I just think that, I know they gave up plenty of points to North Texas, but that was mostly through the air. So I feel like Ohio's just going to run the ball. I think that's more of a South Alabama strength. If you could call a strength on defense for South Alabama, I would say it's their front seven more than their secondary. So yeah, I just think they're going to contain the rushing game, and obviously, I mean, Gio Lopez had 432 yards
I know,
passing,
that's what I'm
3
saying.
touchdowns. So, if anything, I would lean a South Alabama, maybe like money line.
I guess I think I would lean the other way towards Ohio, but I'm not betting it. I just thought it was an interesting game and threw the graphics in there as an extra one to talk about before we got started. So Scoop leaning USA money line. You don't have to put it up for me. I was leaning towards Ohio, but let's move on to the next one. Oh shit! It's Dragons time. If you guys aren't betting the Dragons today, what are you even doing? Like, do you even know ball at this point? Andy, you're on the Dragons.
Yeah, I don't think I've bet it yet, but I think this is a 3:30 game, right? So I think I still have time. I really like UAB here. I think it's 11.5, or 11.
I got it at 11.
Yeah, I watched both these teams because they also played simultaneously, and I know we had our SWAC representative come on and talk up Jackson State, but boy, that was an ugly football game.
Jackson State was able to throw the ball on him a little bit.
Yeah, that's the problem because I watched UAB and their offense looked as good as you thought they were going to look, and I know they were playing Alcorn State, but I expect UAB's offense to be great. I expect them to score almost 40-plus points in this game. I mean, Jackson State was giving ULM's defense the work in that game. They barely snuck by in that one. So ULM barely stuck by in that one at home against a SWAC opponent. Now they're facing a UAB team that's got everything in front of them, a lot of energy coming into the year. Trent Dilfer's completely changed that program now. And they're going to throw all over him. Jacob Zeno looked pretty good in their opener. So as long as he stays on the field, because I think he got hurt in the middle of the game, but he came back in. As long as he stays healthy, I think they're going to blow them out.
Yeah, and there's a couple things in that UAB opener against Alcorn State that were a little like they fumbled on one of the early drives. There was an interception in there too, and 41-6 isn't even indicative to how that game looked. So I think there might be some value in that aspect, but for the most part, I just think there's a little bit of an overreaction in the market on both sides here, in a sense that I think before last week in this spot, UAB would have been laying 2 touchdowns plus. And then UAB, a couple turnovers there, only 41-6 against Alcorn State. I mean, I think people expected UAB to put up a 70 piece in that. But I like I said, there was a couple weird turnovers that made that game, the final score, look a little different. And then Louisiana Monroe looked pretty impressive. They scored 30 points against Jackson State. But those two games don't change how I feel about these two teams. Entering the season, we thought Louisiana Monroe was one of the worst teams in the FBS, and one win over an FCS program in Jackson State doesn't change that. So I like UAB by 2 touchdowns plus here.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, Trent Dilfer scares the shit out of me.
Bet the Dragons.
Trent Dilfer just scares the shit out of me as a coach. He terrifies me. Not that he's not a good coach. I just think he would beat me like if I was one of his players. So, yeah, I mean, the Blazers, they had a 517-177 advantage in offense. They had 31 first downs to 12. So, and Jacob Zeno did look pretty good. And on the other side, UL Monroe just has an inexperienced quarterback. This UAB team is going to pound booty. They're going to tear booty to shreds. Yeah, listen, UAB has a ton of firepower. I trust them more on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be aggressive. So, and this is Zeno's 6th year of college football, so he's been around. I think they're gonna take care of business here. I also think they're gonna win by 2 touchdowns.
All right, we're a Dragons program. Dragons up.
Yeah, you talked me into them this year. I wasn't very high on them.
I'm a buyer.
You talked so high on them.
I'm a buyer on the Dragons. Zeno for Heisman. That's crazy. Guys, so the way the preview show works, have you ever watched College Game Day? They get to the good games at the end. They go in order. Never mind.
I'm going crazy reading some of these.
I know.
Are we going to do any of the real games today? Yes.
Yeah,
no, we're going to forget about all
the
show.
The show didn't even start yet. It's 9:57. The show starts at 10.
Really quick, we're not talking San Diego State, right?
No, okay, go ahead.
I mean, I have a bet here. So, I mean, I love San Diego State. I think Oregon State's really only going to rely on their ground game pretty much all season. I don't think Giovanni McCoy is a great quarterback. He certainly isn't tested. I feel like Oregon State's just a bit one-dimensional. So San Diego State's going to stack the box, make them throw. Griffin and Hankerson are a solid 1-2 punch for Oregon State, but Marcus Cooper is better than both of them. So Trey White and Ryan Henderson should be able to get up the edge here for San Diego State against. I don't really trust Oregon State's tackles, even though they had a decent running game last week. They're going to get pressure in the backfield. They had 8 tackles for loss last game, even though it was an FCS school. But this defensive line is better than Oregon State's line. Plus, this San Diego State team plays extremely fast, top 10 in the country. Danny O'Neal has a game under his belt, so I think it's going to be too much for Oregon State. I think it's a live dog here at Snapdragon, so give me San Diego State.
I also like how Oregon State has Oregon on deck. It adds to your pick.
I'll ride.
What's
with
the
you.
current
I like
line
San
here?
Diego
It's a
State
5.5.
5.5.
One of the best
Ooh, you
coaches
can get a
in-
6 now.
And you're going to get Oregon State giving 5.5 on the road. Come on, it's Oregon State.
Maybe in Corvallis.
Yeah,
All right. You know what, Scoop? I'm going to tail you.
let's go.
I'm also good. This is a late night one, right?
I think it's
It has to be. It's Oregon State against San Diego. Yeah, that was.
Can you definitely get a 6 right now? Yeah, you could get a 6. BetMGM, locking it in. Hashtag tail scoop. Hashtag don't screw us. All right. Sorry, guys. 1 sec. It's 9:59, so the show starts in 1 minute. Scoop giving us a bonus bet there. I mean, we should have loaded this game up, but I really had nothing to say about it. It's kind of like the Arizona State game, which we'll get to. I have nothing to say in that game. I have no idea.
The reason that I didn't look at the San Diego State game is they have a lot of questions themselves because they have a new coaching staff, but their running game will be good. But I don't know shit about Oregon State. That whole team got gutted because their program is playing a step down this year. So like they should be on paper really, really good playing lesser opponents, but also they lost everybody that was on that team last year. So I have no idea what that team's going to be.
All right, let me just share the screenshot to the Discord real quick so everyone has it. Because if Scoop posted it, they don't care. But if I post it, they'll actually.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a joke, Scoop. It's a joke. Some Saturday morning laughter. That's all.
Some humor. Some humor.
All right, let's go to game 1. All right, 10
Absolute
a.m.
heater.
So for those of you that showed up on time, good morning. Tough loss on Northwestern last night. I wouldn't say we were on the right side though. Like I said when we first started, Northwestern blocked a punt. Duke also muffed a punt. So we had some things go our way. Just a coin flip game, and we were on the wrong side of the flip at the end. That's all. Awesome game to watch though. We were into it. It was fun. So we'll take that. Plus the overhit in the NFL game. So. All right. So we have 24 games lined up, and the first one is a scorcher. Bowling Green, Happy Valley, 34.5. All those 35s got bought up. This is a little bit of a strange one here because Bowling Green is regarded to be one of the better, if not one of the best teams in the MAC conference this year. But I mean, on the road in Happy Valley is just a different sort of situation. I think Penn State just routes them. But me and Andy did a preview on Bowling Green, and we both liked them. We like this Bowling Green team this year. It's just
Winning the MAC.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the battle in the trenches against their conference opponent. They're going to get fucking smoked in the trenches in Penn State. So the things that I think they're good at don't necessarily translate in Penn State. So just put up Penn State minus 34.5. No chance I'm laying 35 points to a team that I actually think is pretty good, though. So Penn State, I guess, or pass.
I will say that I'm doing the exact same thing. That Bowling Green game was, I said it was, what was it? Deceiving. I said was the word I used. They got very lucky in that Fordham game. They ran a kickoff back. I think they had a missed field goal too in there. Like Fordham played them much closer, and the quarterback got a lot done through the air. Fordham is regarded as a pretty good FCS program, but they were laying 17.5 to an FCS school just a week ago, and they covered, but they were pretty fortunate to cover. Took a kickoff return and a couple of mistakes to cover. Now you have, there's no team that feels better about what they did week 1, maybe besides Georgia, other than Penn State. They feel amazing about what they just did. They went on the road to Morgantown and blitzed West Virginia. So I just think a lot of people might say this is a sleep spot. Best team, in my opinion, best team in the MAC coming in, but I don't think Penn State works that way. I think this Penn State team, they just don't give up points. And if you're not giving up points to anybody, you can cover these numbers pretty easily. I could see Bowling Green getting 3 or nothing today. I can't see much more than maybe a touchdown. But then are you stopping this running game from putting up 40 on you? I really don't think so. So
what about fading the Kotelnicki? What about fading and saying like, hey, that I'm not buying this Penn State offense and just taking an under?
Makes sense. Makes sense against a MAC school too. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe that would be a perfect sleep spot. He basically called a perfect game against West Virginia. Now like going up against Bowling Green, kind of a boring one, right? But I just don't think James Franklin works that way.
The problem with the under is I could see this being like 56-0, personally. So, I mean, this team gave up 401 yards to Fordham, 182 yards on the ground to Fordham. So they're giving 182 yards to Fordham. They're going to give up a lot more to Penn State. Plus, this Fordham team finished 6-5 last season. I mean, it's not like they're a powerhouse FCS school. So, yeah, I think Drew Allar and their running game is just gonna pick them apart. I'm not touching this personally, and like you guys said, I really like Bowling Green's rushing attack. So I just don't trust them against a rushing attack against Penn State, which is the best
crazy
in the NCAA. But yeah, Penn State should kill them on the ground. It might get ugly quick. So and I guess if you're leaning Penn State, this was 35.5 pretty much all week. So the fact that it's 34.5 now, you can, it's under 5 touchdowns now at least. So, but yeah, I would take Penn State. I just don't want to touch this game.
All right, next game. Houston, Oklahoma. A lot of sharp people are on the under in this one. I saw it on several shows. People that I regard as good bettors that took the under. It's at 49.5 now. I'm good. I personally,
I put this one in here for me.
What do you have?
You can go to the graphic. I have Houston team total under 9.5.
9.5, bro.
Yeah, and that's playing it safe because the actual number 7.5 or 10.5. No, 7.5. And I put it up from 9.5.
Wait, hold on. If the actual number is 7,
the actual number is 10.5. I'm sorry.
I'm you teased it down?
Yeah, I put it down to 9.5 because I think this team is. I mean, I could have put it to 7.5. I think they get 6 points at most here, but I'm just playing it safe with the plus 110. This offense. Now they made a lot of mistakes. They couldn't get anything working on UNLV. Now they're going up against the best defense in the country. Plenty of returning starters, good transfers in there. I know they played Temple. Don't know how much better Houston is than Temple, but they played Temple. Temple couldn't get anything going, obviously. And Oklahoma didn't play a necessarily good offensive game. They couldn't really run the ball. Their leading rusher was Tatum. He's their third back. So like that was surprising to me enough. They couldn't run the ball. So that's why I didn't want to touch a cover here. But I also don't think Houston's going to score at all. They looked awful, like we said, against UNLV. Now you're going into Norman. This was a conference game last year. It's not anymore. This is just a terrible spot for Houston with Willie Fritz. This is his first major game as a coach for Houston. Now there's no talent here, and Oklahoma's defense is this good. So yeah, team total under 9.5.
I mean, I get the idea behind it. Oklahoma probably has a top 3 defense in the country. Truly. They're going to be elite. Houston's offense looked absolutely dreadful last week against UNLV. Now they go into Oklahoma. I get that. The problem is with taking a team total under 9.5, even if you expect Houston's offense to not do shit all day, Donovan Smith is a big play guy, and it only takes one to fuck up a number like this. So just because I know, look, I don't expect Houston to be moving the ball or grabbing first downs. I mean, they might finish the game with less than 200 yards of offense, so I get what you're saying there. But Donovan Smith, he's a big play guy. Just one big play. He throws it deep. He does all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, it's gambling on Oklahoma not making a mistake in this game. But I think they made plenty of mistakes against Temple. So, I mean, I think they made their mistakes already, and I think they're going to play a clean game. This is going to be ugly. I'm not touching the number, though, because you never know with a number like this, 28, it's 28 4 touchdowns. You really never know like that. Oklahoma, like I said, they made their mistakes last week, so you never know. That's why I'm not touching the number. That's why I wanted Houston under 9.5.
Put up Oklahoma minus 27.5 for me. I could see some Donovan Smith turnovers, but I also could see him. I mean, we're gonna see Donovan Smith hero ball here. Scoop.
Yeah, I put money on this. Like I said, I'm really down on Houston. Like I said last week, they're coming off the UNLV loss. I think this team is absolutely atrocious. I would lean team total under 10.5. That I think that I would lay the juice and just just in case they get a field goal there. But Oklahoma should just be able to control this game on both sides of the ball. Offensively, Houston just didn't do anything against UNLV. They didn't score until a minute left. They were 2-15 on third down. They had no run game, no passing game. I know Oklahoma had 6 turnovers against Temple. I honestly think they can even get 5 or 6 here against Houston. Jackson Arnold should have time to throw. They're going to score quick. Donovan Smith, yeah, like you just said, I think he's going to turn the ball over a lot. He's going to start here for Houston, but honestly, I don't think he's going to finish this game. I think he's going to get pulled early. I think this is just going to be an absolute blowout. So I think Oklahoma wins by 40 plus.
And by the way, guys, last week we were saying in the Oklahoma game, we were saying Temple team total under 7.5. They finished the game with 3 points. So it hit last week. This Oklahoma defense is as good as advertised.
It's the best defense in the country. That's what
top 3. How about?
It's best defense in the country.
Top 10.
Best defense in the All right,
it's Georgia, Penn State, Oklahoma. I think they're better than both of them. So
next, Notre Dame probably deserve to be in this conversation as well as far as top 5 defenses.
Definitely.
Notre Dame certainly an impressive win. I know that it was close down to the wire, but I went to Kyle Field and pretty much just hold their ground. Now, Connor Wigman didn't do any favors for Texas A&M, but Notre Dame, the offensive line was new, right? New pieces going to Texas A&M against that defensive front, and they really didn't get bullied. I mean, they didn't really dominate either, but they held their ground. Like, they stayed in the fight, and Riley Leonard made some throws there. We didn't expect him to be able to throw the ball, and I mean, as a whole, he didn't really throw the ball, but he made a couple throws there. Made some plays that got the win. Really nice win for Notre Dame. I would lean Northern Illinois plus the points just because, I mean, you have Notre Dame going in to Texas A&M pulling off a crazy upset, like down to the wire. They go to Purdue next week. This is kind of just like a weird home game against a MAC team in the middle. And it's not just any MAC team. I think Northern Illinois is the best team in the MAC. I've said that a few times. I think Northern Illinois is going to be able to run the ball this year. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball in South Bend, but I think as a whole, they're going to be able to run the ball really well this year. Also, Northern Illinois, their defense was a little shaky last year, but they brought back everybody. 7 of their top 8 defensive linemen, 4 of their top 5 linebackers, I think it is. So as far as the Northern Illinois defensive front, ton of production back. And same goes for the secondary. Northern Illinois was not known for their defense last year, but they're very experienced this year. So I like this Northern Illinois team a lot. Now, none of this is really relevant on the road in South Bend. Basically, I just think they're good enough to hopefully catch Notre Dame napping a little bit, but I didn't bet this one. But that's the way I would go here.
Go ahead, Andy.
I don't have much here. I would just lean Notre Dame. Ethan Hampton's young, going into South Bend at quarterback. That's don't think they're gonna be able to run for much on Notre Dame. This is a game where I think they're gonna punt it like 11 to 12 times. I don't know. Whatever, pretty much every possession is gonna end a punt for them. And I know Notre Dame. This is another spot where maybe it's a sleep spot for them, but this is their first game in front of their home fans. This is an NBC 3:30 game. This is a big game for them, even if it's just. I mean, to be fair, Notre Dame doesn't get to have many big games, so like they have to take every game as a big one here. So I think. There's no sleeping for Notre Dame. So I think they're just going to crush them. But I do see your point of view.
I don't think. What motivation does Marcus Freeman have to make aggressive play calls in this one? I mean, after the big one at Texas A&M,
does he have to?
Yeah, and
is Northern Illinois going to get much done on offense? They're going to have good field position. Going to be punting a lot. Like
I do. Marcus Freeman. He's going to call. What motivation does he have to make aggressive play calls? I mean, he's going to run the ball against a Northern Illinois defensive front that I think is okay. So I don't think they're just going to get absolutely smoked. I think obviously Notre Dame's going to win, but I could see Northern Illinois forcing Notre Dame into like 6-7 minute drives, which I don't know. I didn't
But
bet it,
is
so
the-
I'll shut the fuck up. I didn't bet it. But
Is the Northern Illinois defensive front gonna be able to get any push on the Notre Dame
look,
O-line?
we've established
I
this
don't know.
in the preseason show. You don't like Northern Illinois. I get it.
It's not a bias thing. I'm just
No,
I'm
but
pointing
you were
out
talking shit about them on our preview show, and I said they could win the
they're
MAC.
the
You're
second
like,
best team in the MAC. That's fine.
they're
That's
the
not
best
a hate.
team in the MAC. All right, Scoop,
I
what do you
Bowling
like?
Green. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm leaning Northern Illinois here.
There you go.
I mean, Notre Dame looked great on the road. Their defense did. Not exactly Riley Leonard. I don't really like Riley Leonard personally. I mean, those defenses played well. It wasn't a pretty game last week on the offensive side for Notre Dame. Leonard ran for a bunch of yards. The reason Notre Dame won in general is because he took care of the ball. This Notre Dame secondary is going to be great. Xavier Watts looks like the real deal. It wasn't a fluke from last year, but I mean, they're going home now, getting a Northern Illinois team that Ethan Hampton, man, 5 touchdowns last game, 706 yards of total offense, domination. So, no, I mean, I'd lean Notre Dame. They got a ton back last year on both sides of the ball. 28 points. You got a nice 4 touchdown cushion. I'd lean that way. Ontario Brown is a great running back. Trayvon Rudolph's awesome on the wideouts. So. And they have experience on the defensive front side of the ball. I don't know how much that's going to translate to a team like Notre Dame, but I think it's just a lot of points for a solid Northern Illinois offense. So I think they can stay in this game for the majority of the game. So I'll lean. I'm not like Kyle said, I didn't bet this, but like let me reiterate, I did not bet this. So don't take this to gospel. So yeah, but I would lean.
Oh,
that.
you know, people are fast forwarded through.
They're like, oh, the graphic says
Yeah.
NIU.
What they do is
liar.
they fast forward and just look at the colors on the screen, and you could be like, I don't want to bet this game. No shot. It's a coin flip. Gun to my head. I'll take this. Put the graphic up, and someone will be like, what an idiot. This guy sucks. They clearly didn't watch it. All right, next game.
That's a fun one.
I don't want to talk about Sam Houston after what they did to me last Saturday. So I forget what show I heard it on. So I want to give the proper credit. I think I heard it on the Bet US show. I forget which one. Sorry. So if it's your show, my bad. But they shared a record of UCF at home when they're laying 3 or more touchdowns. And it's pretty good. Look, I'm not big on the Sam Houston State team. I took Rice last week. You guys remember it. I infamously took Rice and infamously got rocked. I was laying 10.5 in that game. They got their shit beat in. So I want to bet UCF here, but I'm not going to be sitting after week 2 with 2 big losses, fading the same team twice. That maybe Sam Houston State. It doesn't make sense that they're good to me. But it doesn't make sense to me that they're good. But maybe Sam Houston's good. I don't know. You put UCF up for me.
Yeah. So, do you want to go? Oh, I'll go.
I want a UCF graphic.
I wanted to do victory laps about Sam Houston State, but again, you talked me into Rice, and I feel like an idiot.
I'm influential.
But again, I was 100% with you. I thought Rice could be able to throw on them, and to be fair, they had to. That's part of my reasoning for really liking UCF in this one. UCF ran for 8.5 yards a carry, 54 carries. That's 454 yards or so on New Hampshire. KJ Jefferson had to do absolutely nothing. I don't think he'll have to do anything in this one. Sam Houston didn't face many rush attempts. I think, let me get the exact number. Rice ran the ball 18 times. And actually, they ran the ball 15 times. 3 of those are sacks. They didn't have to really face a rush attack because they were up 17-0 in the blink of an eye. So they haven't been prepared to face the conditioning of running the ball, and now they're facing a team that just ran the ball 54 times and knows they can run all over you. They're one of the best running backs in the country. You're going to their house. It's one of the toughest places to play when they fill it. They had a weekday game last week. I think their first Saturday game of the season. Students are in school now. That place is going to be filled. It's going to be a brutal place for Sam Houston to go. As high as I am on them, I've now faded them twice. So I could wind up looking like an idiot here because I did think that this team was going to be competitive, but this is an awful spot. They should probably get ran all over in this game. And UCF, this is kind of against the grain because at these numbers, I usually don't love to take teams that run the football. They run the football, but they also run a very fast pace. So it doesn't necessarily matter. They get up and snap it right away. KJ Jefferson, as long as he doesn't make a stupid mistake like I've seen him make, and usually this is his game. He blows bad teams out the water. That's the KJ Jefferson special. So
That's the KJ Jefferson special.
This is his spot. So yeah, I think this will be pretty ugly.
Scoop, true or false? Sam Houston State gets bounced in the bounce house.
Probably, but this is gonna be points. Definitely going over here.
Points.
Points.
Prop Beaver coined that phrase. Points.
I told you guys in the preview, Sam Houston State's offense is going to be explosive this year. Last week, with that Rice game, I don't want to really talk about it, but Hunter Watson, I think, is gonna have a great year in Conference USA. I'm probably going to bet the over on every week Sam Houston plays, because their defense, no matter what you saw against Rice, it's not good. So, Rice just looked like shit. But Rice doesn't have the running back room like UCF does. They have Penny Boone. They have Miles Montgomery. They had RJ Harvey. This team had 450 yards on the ground. They're going to be a top 5 rushing team this year. Like Andy said, KJ Jefferson's, he takes care of the ball for the most part. He doesn't really have to do anything and just hand the ball off. He's an okay passer, but he can run it too. So I think the play scheming in UCF is going to put up a lot of points on Sam Houston. I don't really like UCF's D-line in terms of getting quarter pressure on the quarterback. So I can see Sam Houston throwing on them. I don't really like their secondary. So I can see this. And this was 57.5. I like the over then. So I definitely like it at over 55.5. So give me that.
Market move towards an under. I feel like if John Reese was still the quarterback, John Reese Plumlee, my guy, if he was still there, I would bet this. But next up. Okay, I did some searching this morning to try and find a Charlotte injury update.
So did I.
Good luck finding it, because who runs this Charlotte program? The CIA? Honestly, what's going on? Can't find any information about anything. He comes out before the James Madison game, and he's like, do you know what the coach's exact quote was? Did you guys? It was, I'm not very good at math, but I think it's close to 50% of the starters.
That's Bliff.
Under.
So how many of the starters are out for this one? Bliff? I can't find it anywhere. In case you missed it, Max Johnson's out for the year for North Carolina, and Harrell didn't look great when he came over in relief there at quarterback. So the thing is, I don't know enough about Charlotte's defensive front seven to maybe if they're able to stop the run, then maybe there's some value on Charlotte plus 22. But the reason I liked the under last week is I really like the way Minnesota's defense was built to take Marion Hampton out of the game, which they kind of did. I don't know if Charlotte's built like that. So even with Harrell at quarterback, I think we could see Hampton have his first big game of the year here. I just don't know enough about Charlotte to definitively put my money on that. So put North Carolina minus 22 up for me. Or if you're a prop person, Hampton 2+ touchdowns, Hampton over rush yards, something like that. Quarterback making his first start. They lost their quarterback, right? Max Johnson.
He's done for the year.
Yeah, done for the year. So they're coming in with uncertainty at quarterback. I think they hand the ball off a lot. And they have a superstar at running back, an NFL guy, running the ball in Marion Hampton, who is coming off a not bad game, but he just played a very tough defense. So, yeah, someone give me odds on that while Wetzel's talking. Someone give me the odds on Hampton 2+ touchdowns here. I honestly would be down to put that bet down on the show, more like for fun, but I'd be down to bet that if someone finds me the odds. Go ahead, Hampton. Go ahead, Wetzel.
Hampton's a good name. I wanted to take Charlotte, but I can't get there because I literally don't know who's playing. And I thought Harrell looked pretty decent. He's a very highly recruited quarterback out of North Carolina, hometown kid, kind of like Drake May. They kind of have the same hopes for him, but obviously they expected him to be sitting for a year. Now it's his job, his go. So he has to earn this. This is his first start. It is at home, but I do think kind of scares me. A highly recruited player. First start against a sneaky Charlotte team if they're healthy. Again, I don't know if they're healthy, so I'd lean UNC, but because of the injury concerns, I'm not going to place a bet, but it's be an interesting game.
Someone says it's minus 110 for him to score 2 touchdowns.
Is it really?
So last week it was like plus 100. So like they must just be expecting.
It was plus 100 to score 2 touchdowns on Minnesota.
Crazy. Yeah, it was something crazy because I don't think they had another running back. It was like something like maybe it was like plus 110 or 20, something like that. It was in that range because they must expect this dude to get 2 touchdowns every single game. So.
I mean, it makes sense with Harrell starting at quarterback. It makes sense if they get
they're going to run the ball.
They're going to run the shit out of the ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, the under for sure.
Oh, my bad. I didn't even give you a chance to talk. It's fine. Let's go with All right.
Oh, I thought he did because he said,
No, he said under first, but he actually didn't explain.
It's just because Max Brown looked like shit really against a completely new James Madison defense, and plus Connor Harrell starting. I don't know. He had 6 passes last year, and in the Minnesota game he threw it 4 times. So
he actually did throw a dart.
He threw one really nice ball. Yeah.
I mean, and then like you said, the 49ers didn't really bulk up their run defense from last year, so it's just hard to trust this offense and Max Brown. I mean, they didn't show anything. The thing is with even in this one with an awful run defense and an unproven offense, I can't fully trust North Carolina with Connor Harrell. So I think this game's going to be in the low 40s.
Hold on. Someone else is in the comments saying it's plus 160 now for 2 touchdowns. What are you trying to rob me? Know your worth? Put minus 110 in the comments. Oh, man. They're trying to rob me. We'll have some value here. All right. Let's move on to the next game. Someone asked, did we already do the Army game? Yeah, actually, Army was the first game we did. Just scroll to the beginning. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. You guys go first because I have thoughts.
Scoop, you can go first.
Yeah. I mean, with Pitt, that game didn't go anything like I thought it would against Kent State. That's because they had an offensive explosion from Holstein. I'm just not sure if that's the Kent State defense or Pitt actually being a competent offense at all. So, I mean, the Pitt defense still let Kent State score 24, so that may be an issue. I don't know actually how they scored 24 because, I mean, they actually had a great defense, but they still let them score 24. So I don't know. Take that for how it is, but they had
there was a play where Pitt returned a kick, and the Kent State kickoff team ripped the ball out of his hands and ran for a touch. It bobbled out. It was a weird play, but it was technically a fumble return touchdown on a kickoff. It was weird. There was a couple weird plays in there.
Yeah, no. I mean, Desmond Reed had 231 all-purpose yards. I guess Holstein's going to be the starter. I guess that wasn't really much of a competition. But again, this Pittsburgh team all of a sudden found an offense. Narduzzi's bringing his team up to date. They did finish last in the ACC in yards and points last year, so I don't know how much of an improvement they're actually going to have. So, yeah, Pitt was actually great blitzing all game. They had 5 sacks, but their O-line still allowed defensive pressure to get through. So I don't know. I mean, I think maybe Cincinnati might be a little sharp move here on the money line given the spread. But yeah, I mean, since he didn't look great against the Towson team, they only won by 1. Their special teams was a disaster. They missed some field goals. They muffed some punts. They had a kickoff go out of bounds. It's one game, but this game was a kind of a pick-em to start the game. And I know Pitt's shown more, but I would lean Cincinnati here just because I don't know if I could trust Pittsburgh's offense yet.
Opposite for me. I would take Pitt here. Like he said, they ran for 8 yards a carry against Towson. They're not going to do that against Pitt. And Towson quarterback got a lot done through the air. And I'll tell you what, I know it was only a 1-game sample size for Holstein, but he's going to get a lot done through the air today if that holds up. The quarterback for Towson, Carlos Davis, had 244 and 2 touchdowns. Holstein, he should go over those numbers. I put him in the underdog. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot done. I think the Pitt offense just looks different right now. I know they're going on the road, but I just think they're going to outscore them here. I would lean Pitt.
Someone asked NFL stream later. That's tomorrow morning. Is the NFL show with Prop Beaver and Toast and the better looking members of the Sauce Network. All right. So I have to say, and I haven't bet this one. What the fuck is this line, man? What is this line? Everyone's betting Pittsburgh, right? I'm on Cincinnati, but I thought I'd be like a sharp plus 2.5 here. Like, they have Cincinnati laying. All the shows I've been watching, people I've been talking to, it was on Pittsburgh. Why is that? It was at 1.5. Now it's at 2.5. It's moving towards Cincinnati. The action seems to be coming in on the other side. I personally, okay. So I know that if you look at the box score from last week's game, Pitt, Kent State, it looks like Pittsburgh's defense played well. And honestly, they did to an extent. But I'm ashamed to say I watched the entire game because I had the under. So I had it on one of the TVs and literally watched the entire game. And look, I'm not willing to back off of my take on the Pittsburgh defensive front. If you watch the preview we did on Pitt before the season, they lost their entire defensive line and they lost their D-line coach. So, okay, you held Kent State to a reasonable amount of total yards. All of a sudden, we're just going to forget that. They're going on the road into Cincinnati against a Cincinnati team that, look, they were a mess last year with what's the quarterback's name, Andy, that we always make fun of?
Emory Jones?
Emory Jones with Emory Jones. But 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line are back for Cincinnati. I expect Cincinnati to be able to run the ball this year, and this is a perfect game to showcase it. I don't think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be able to get Cincinnati off the field. And on the other side, look, who's the new play? Cade Bell it looks like he's got more control of the offense. It looks like Narduzzi may have taken his hands off the wheel a little bit and is letting Cade Bell Dougie a little bit with the offense, and we certainly saw it last week. A lot more, like I'd say, aggressive play calling against Kent State. We're used to seeing Narduzzi control the clock, right? So conservative play calling. Last week it was like, whoa, like what the hell team is this? I'm still not going to just blindly declare Pittsburgh as this run and gun, shoot 'em up offense because they lit Kent State's ass on fire. I'm not. One game isn't going to change that. The total's super high, so they're expecting points. But still, I can't rely on Pitt's offense coming on the road here and just putting up a huge number because of what they did to Kent State. So I think Cincinnati's the side. I haven't bet it yet. The line's weird. See, look at it. We're polling on Pittsburgh 47%, 31%. I think Cincinnati's the side. This is probably the bet that would be added if I added one more bet. I think I have 13 open. My 14th bet probably would have been Cincinnati money line at like the minus 130, minus 135. So that's where I'm at.
Rivalry game. That's a big one.
All right, Andy. This is okay. So last week there was one game that the Hawaii. There was a couple games actually where Andy was horribly wrong and we all make fun of him. I think this might be Andy's L take right here. So go ahead,
really?
Andy, deliver it. Yeah.
Well, I think I might have set myself up for disaster if the Houston 9.5 total doesn't hit.
No, I don't. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a sharp play. I think
here's the thing.
When you're wrong, but
when you're wrong, you can't be like hysterically wrong. Hawaii was hysterically wrong.
It was hysterical.
You know what? You know what people didn't make fun of me for last week? I had Western Kentucky. They didn't score a point. They lost 63-0. The line was doubled. So I'm doing pretty much the exact same thing here. The exact same line, but this time, look, I've said it about 20 times now. I'm very high on the South Florida team, and obviously it's not a great spot. They played them well last year at home. Now they're going on the road. It's a different Alabama team, though. They looked really, really good against Western Kentucky. I hated every minute of that game because that was over from the beginning. There's a lot of talent on that South Florida sideline, and I think they're going to play very well in the American. Now, they're going to be out-talented today. They're going to be outmatched today. I just think that this is such a high line for a team that I think has a pretty good offense. I think this South Florida team can do a lot on offense. Obviously, this is an SEC defense, but they're going to do enough to just keep it within 4 touchdowns. Like, this line to me is crazy because South Florida is probably one of the favorites to make the college football playoff from the group of 5 perspective, one of the top 5. So, like, one of the best group of 5 teams is 31-point underdogs to Alabama. I think that they're factoring in the fact that this was a close game last year and now nobody necessarily expects it to be now. I just think Alabama was too perfect in their first game. So, like, there will have to be a mistake or something that keeps this game within 4 touchdowns. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Andy's bias against the SEC strikes again.
That's what the comments are saying.
Yeah, that is
hates the SEC.
The helmet right there.
Georgia
There's the helmet
homer.
right there.
Yeah, hold on. The accusation, Andy, is that you're biased against every SEC team that isn't your favorite team.
Right.
And it might hold some water.
It's not true.
Yeah, a little ho-hum victory for Alabama, 63-0 last week. Milroe threw it 9 times. I think Alabama absolutely rocks South Florida, personally. Their run defense was elite against Western Kentucky. Keon Sabb was everywhere also. I think the board's going to have Alabama with a solid year offensively, one of the top 5 offenses, personally. So, really, these next 2 games that Alabama will win here against South Florida in a blowout, and they're going to beat Wisconsin next week. But I think they're tune-ups for that Georgia game. So, this isn't a knock on South Florida or Alex Golesh. He's done a solid job with South Florida. He took a 1-win team, turned them into a solid team in less than a year, pretty much. So, and I like their quarterback in Byron Brown, but I don't know. The sophomore playing in Tuscaloosa, I think it's going to be a rough go. They played last year. I know Alabama won 17-3 in South Florida, but yeah, this team is just so much better than South Florida talent-wise. A new coordinator on defense, Kane Womack, has his team ready to go against Western Kentucky. He's going to have them ready to go here. This defense is going to have a rough time slowing down Alabama. I think Alabama wins by 40.
I personally think the total's too high. I don't think South Florida's going to put up many points here. So I would go under 64.5 if I'm placing a bet, because the final score will be 51-6. But no, I'm not. You don't have to type that, Proppy. Not.
No, type in 51-6 under his
final score 51-6, which is more than 31. Next up. Okay.
Diametrically opposed, if you will.
This is another game that I'm down to bet. I'm down to clown here. I think Andy's okay. So I think Andy's wrong here in this game we're about to talk about.
My else is new.
But I will say, of all the people I talked to, things I watched, things I read in the last 12 hours, most of the sharp college football minds are on Andy's side here. I think I'm alone on my Wake Forest island. But I didn't bet this one yet. But Wetzel, go ahead, make your Virginia case.
Yeah, Wetzel's gonna try to do his best here. I said it the other day. I think the quarterback's legit for Virginia, or at least great for Virginia standards, right? He can move, and that's why I like that a lot, because the Virginia O-line is not very good. They returned a lot of their guys from last year, but they weren't good. And I'm not a huge fan of it. Like I said it with the Stanford game last week. You can return your guys, but if they suck, right? But that sucked for Musket, because Musket couldn't move. He can't necessarily run around in the pocket. Sorry. Calandria 10. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Calandria can move around, and I think that helps against a pass rush like Wake Forest, which is their main thing. They returned a lot of their defensive line. Secondary is pretty weak. Secondary got thrown on a little bit last week against NCAA, and is going to get thrown on in ACC games. I think he's just going to – the quarterback's going to be able to throw the ball in this game, and that's going to be a mess for Wake Forest. And then you flip it to the other side. What the hell does Wake Forest offense do for you? This offense, led by Hank Bachmeier.
Big game Hank, bro.
Big game Hank sucks. Let's be honest. Respect to Hank Bachmeier. He's had a really solid career, actually. But this is the last stand for him, and it's not going to go very well. This offense sucks. Virginia has a lot of deep threats, so yeah, I just think Virginia's going to beat them deep in this one. This is they're going to throw a lot of deep balls in this one. So yeah, I know a lot of people are on Virginia too. So
Andrew, so young, so naive. I just assume that an inexperienced quarterback that's never once ever played a decent road game.
That's not true.
Go find me a good road game that Calandria's
I will,
played.
Because I did spot one the other day.
So Calandria is my best friend. I know him personally. No, actually, it is my best friend's cousin, so I do root for him. It's pretty much a pick 'em here in the garbage ACC. This ACC is wide open, just not for these two teams. So, I mean, last game Virginia won at Wake Forest was 2002. It's the first time Tony Elliott's playing them. Both of these teams will have about a year, I think, though Wake's definitely on a downtrend in the last couple of years. But like Andy said, I don't trust Bachmeier, man. I don't think they have a true quarterback.
Big game Hank.
I mean,
you're the only one calling him that.
Virginia's sticking with the GOAT Calandria. They're definitely going to have one of the best offenses in years. If Calandria can take care of the ball, they definitely win here. So Wake Forest is a slow-moving offense. I mean, Bachmeier is a great run-pass option quarterback. He definitely developed it slowly and makes great decisions. So, but I think Virginia's front sevens gets through the backfield quickly, which they definitely can. This should be a Virginia win, but I just don't trust that inexperienced Wake Forest secondary. I think Virginia might win the turnover battle. So I'm going to stick with best friend Calandria to win the game.
Guys, hear me out. It's not Okay. So let me preface it by saying I'm the only one on Wake Forest. So like most people disagree with this, but it's not that I'm saying Big Game Hank is better than Calandria. Calandria's never played a good road game before. He's made 2 career road starts. They were both terrible. I don't think. Go ahead, Andy.
That Louisville game is not terrible. He threw for 300 yards on a pretty good defense last year.
Don't make fun of Calandria.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
He had 160 rating. That's
I guess
a pretty good
to be
game.
honest, when I looked at but they lost.
The Maryland game was an embarrassment.
When I looked at that one, I was like, I skipped over it. I was like, Louisville, that doesn't count, to be honest, because they're because they're good. Not I was giving him a break there. Because I was like, you can't compare Louisville to Wake Forest. But what I'm saying is, going on the road against an experienced defensive front seven here in Wake Forest. They bring back 6 of their top 8 defensive linemen. They only lost 1 linebacker from the linebacking core. So this is a very good experience. Well, not very good. They struggled a little bit last year, but they should be improved and experienced defensive front. You trust Calandria to go on the road, win a road conference game with his arm, and not make any mistakes. In Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wake Forest overrated.
Yeah, man. Wake Forest is going
Going
on the road to Wake
your boy's
Forest.
Gonna throw a couple. Your boy's going to throw a
couple.
couple picks today.
No picks. Take care of the ball.
Big Game Hank gets it done. I'm on Wake.
This is your game. You really like this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm on the right. It's down to 46.5 now, though. It's like, I mean, I'd still take it. I got it at 49.5, though. So yeah, we're on to Kansas State, Tulane. I bet this one, the number I got is 3 points gone. But I still like the under. Okay, so Kansas State, I said it before the season started, I expect them to show us a little bit of a new look in comparison to the Chris Kleiman offenses we're used to seeing. I expect to see a lot more running the football. They got a really good running back room. Remember, they brought in they bring back their RB from last year, but they also brought in Edwards from Colorado. So they got 2 very good RBs there in Kansas State. They lost some production in the wide receiver room. Also, obviously, Will Howard is gone. He's on Ohio State. So I expect the offense is built more to run the football. And Avery Johnson is playing quarterback who can run it himself. So I thought the offense was built to run the ball a little more this year than throwing it. And then on the other side of the ball, Kansas State, not usually known for its defense, but I actually think the defense is going to take a step forward. I think Kansas State should have a respectable Big 12 defense this year. So as far as if you're comparing it to the Chris Kleiman Kansas State teams we've seen in years past, high-scoring game, shaky defense, I think this year's Kansas State team is built a little bit differently, maybe play into some more unders. Now, in this particular matchup, they're on the road against Tulane. By the way, the shaky part of the part that we're a little unsure about, at least early in the season for Kansas State's offense, is the offensive line. And they're on the road here at Tulane against a run defense that was pretty good last year. Now, they did lose their defensive coordinator, which worries me. But as a whole, I don't think this is a tough trip for Kansas State's offense to go on the road against a team that was really good. They were like 26th in yards per carry allowed, 38th in run defense success rate. It's a good run defense last year at Tulane. So I don't trust Avery Johnson to go on the road and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns on Tulane. And then on the other side, Tulane's offense is I really don't know what I think about it, to be honest. And I just told you that I think Kansas State's defense is going to be improved. I got the under at 49.5. Oh, the graphic still says 49.5. They can't get that anymore. I would still play it at 46.5. I think it's a lower scoring game, and I also think a lot of running clock's going to roll.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Kansas State. I think I really like Avery Johnson in general. So I know it's UT Martin, but they held them 134 yards total yards. They were great all night. You have to expect Tulane's just going to try to run the ball constantly here, but I think Kansas State's front seven is one of the best in the Big 12. Kind of like what Kyle says, I don't know if I could trust Mensah on offense. I have no idea what he's going to be like. I think Ty Thompson might be a better quarterback. I think he's more of a runner. I mean, maybe that'll open some of the field, but if he actually does play. But right now, I just like Kansas State's defense to get the job done. They were just really good up front. I mean, they recorded 11 tackles behind the line of scrimmage against UT Martin, so they had 4 sacks. I mean, they allowed less than 100 yards through the air. So I think that Kansas State has the advantage here on defense. And I mean, Tulane's a better team than what people give them credit for, but I just don't think they're gonna do much against this Kansas State defense. So I would lean Kansas State here.
Wetzel.
Yeah, Tulane, better team than I thought they were going to be. Obviously, this is still early, and they played Southeast Louisiana, but I do think that they're a little bit better than I initially intended they would be when Willie Fritz left. They're basically just Troy because they brought in the whole Troy coaching staff. But I will say this is razor thin, but Southeast Louisiana got 3.5 yards per carry, 3.2 yards per carry. Obviously, it's not a good number, but like, this is Kansas State, one of probably the best rushing offense in the Big 12 besides Oklahoma State, who is like the Heisman favorite. So like they're gonna run the ball. So that's my reasoning for liking Kansas State. I just think they're gonna be able to run for them like 5 to 6 yards a carry and be really tough to stop. Have possession. I like the low scoring part of that because I think they're just gonna eat the clock this whole game because they'll be getting chunk yards on every run. So I know that's razor thin because again, 3.5 yards per carry isn't exactly something you want to lean on, but that was Southeast Louisiana. This is now Kansas State, so I think that translates well for Kansas State.
All right, so under, and you guys are on Kansas State. Yeah, I as far as a side, I guess at 8.5, maybe I'd lean Kansas State a little bit, but
it's moving in Kansas State's direction for Kansas State.
No, it's originally
or moving into Tulane. Yeah.
I was gonna say because it was 10 earlier in the week.
Moving.
Yeah. So next up is Georgia Tech, Syracuse. The comments did not like my video in this one. People upset.
Syracuse, right?
I have Syracuse +3. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get there. I mean, I don't really know if I can get behind Georgia Tech as a competent football team yet, but it's definitely coming, especially if this one stays close or if they win this. I just don't think I didn't think that would be favored. I don't think they would be favored in Syracuse to start the season, but yeah, it's the first time they're 2-0 in 8 years. Their offense looks great. They just had 500 yards against Georgia State. It was a good balance of passing and running, but their defense has been really impressive too, including their secondary stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Their line gives too much time to throw the. I mean, their defensive line gives too much time to throw the ball. So, and Kyle McCord played awesome after the first quarter last week. But the thing Syracuse needs to do is, stop the run, and I don't know if they can do that. That may be a problem with Marlo Waxout because he hurt his leg and will be out a couple weeks. Anthony Tyus actually just killed that defense. So, if Georgia Tech's run game stays on top, I think this is going to be a long game for Syracuse. I will definitely take Georgia Tech here.
Yeah. So I wrote the game on Sunday, and I had come in on Monday, I think, and said to Kyle, I was like, this game completely points to Georgia Tech. But then we watched the Boston College and Florida State game the other day, and it kind of made me rethink what has Georgia Tech done? Because Florida State win doesn't really necessarily look that good. That was
Boston College beat them worse than Georgia Tech did.
I know. So it doesn't look great. So they ran on Florida State. Cool. It looks like a lot of teams are going to run on Florida State this year. And then they played Georgia State and got pretty fortunate to cover that one. Now, everything's still football-wise, the game still points towards Georgia Tech. They should be able to run the ball all over the place. We talked about it in the preview that Syracuse is going to get run on a lot this year. And it showed in their first game. So I'm going to lean Georgia Tech, but I kind of see Syracuse in this one too. So I'm completely tossed up on this one because game-wise points to Georgia Tech, but tell me you don't want to take Syracuse. Everybody wants to take Syracuse in this game. So,
no, I think it's the opposite. I think everyone wants to take Georgia Tech in this game. I think majority of the public action, at least, is going to be coming in on Georgia Tech.
Most of it is.
This is the ultimate sell high spot on Georgia Tech. They upset Florida State. Then they cover in their next game. Remember, the casual bettor isn't looking and seeing that they shouldn't have covered last week. They're not seeing something like that. What they see is they upset Florida State and watched it because everyone watched that game. And then they bet them the next week against Georgia State and they covered. Oh, this Georgia Tech team's a wagon. They don't consider.
It's funny because I saw that it was 80% on Georgia Tech, and it's funny because it was the top 2 most bet game this week.
Yeah, everyone's they're becoming the public darling here, Georgia Tech. And I mean, hey, they've covered both. I mean, that was my top bet, Georgia Tech against Florida State. So I'm not anti-Georgia Tech or anything, but this is the ultimate sell high spot for them, especially like Andy mentioned. Now that we saw Boston College manhandle Florida State in Tallahassee, beat the hell out of them. That game wasn't even close. So now all of a sudden we're looking at that Georgia Tech Florida State game in Ireland. with a completely different lens. Be like, wow, that win actually wasn't that impressive because Florida State might not be that good. And especially Georgia Tech got Florida State at an even more vulnerable spot. Their first game with all those new faces. Boston College did it to them on their home field after they had a game experience. So that Florida State win doesn't look very good anymore. And then last week against Georgia State, I know most people probably weren't sitting there watching the Georgia Tech-Georgia State game, but Georgia State had the ball inside the 10-yard line. First and goal 3 times. They fumbled, turnover on downs, and a field goal. 3 total points from 3 drives inside the first and 10. I think 2 of them were at the 1. So that game where Georgia Tech won, it was 34-24, 34-14? No, 34-10 or something. I forget the final score. They were laying 21 and a half, and they won by 23 or 24, so they covered. That game could have been a 7-10 point game. Georgia State was running the football efficiently on Georgia Tech, and Georgia State I don't think is very good. That's a team with a lot of new pieces, a brand new coaching staff. I think Georgia Tech's defense is a fade. I think the 2 transfers on the defensive line, they look really nice in that opener against Florida State, but now seeing that Boston College's defense also blanked Florida State's offense, I'm on Syracuse +3. I think the line's a bit of an overreaction here. I think these 2 teams, Georgia Tech's the better team, but I think Syracuse is a little bit unexpectedly good. Now, I'm a little concerned that Ohio ran the ball on Syracuse last week, but Syracuse has a lot of new pieces on the defense, and it was the first game of the season. And also, I don't think people realize that Ohio, the Bobcats, might have a pretty dynamic rushing attack this year. So, yeah, Syracuse +3. I'm on it. Everyone hates it. Cal on the road in Auburn. Hey, let me guess. Andy's on Cal, right? Because he hates the SEC.
No, actually, and this is my main proof that I don't. I think Auburn's gonna be much better than people expect this year. And I'm just looking. Obviously, I don't want to overreact to the first game. We've tried to talk about that, but Cal didn't cover. They didn't cover the first game. It was 20.5 point line against UC Davis. And that was a game in which UC Davis threw 3 interceptions. So that's relatively deceiving the score itself. That was a much closer game than the score shows. And then Auburn obviously blew out Alabama A&M, but now they're a home SEC team against Cal, an ACC team who we all kind of think is going to be average, wants to run the football. You're not going to run the football very well on an SEC defensive line. That's going to be really strong. It's just probably Hugh Frey's best defense. It's getting there. And the line's moving completely as I said it would. It's now 10.5. It's moving toward Cal. I said on Wednesday, I was like, on Saturday, I guarantee you people are going to be betting Cal in this game. It happened, and I love it because I think at 13.5, I liked it. At 12.5, I liked it. At 10.5, I love it. I think that this is going to be a 2-touchdown, 3-touchdown beat down. Auburn's just tougher, stronger, more talented, can throw the football. Peyton Thorne's a veteran, so he's a pretty good quarterback, and don't necessarily think Cal has the defense to stop that. I just think this is a terrible spot for Cal, and I think their first game kind of showed that they're going to be an average team. It takes a lot to go on the road for an average team to compete with an Auburn team that's probably going to be in the top half of the SEC. No, you're not muted. It's.
Oh, he was muted. He was muted because his
they're
thing
also
was
saying
making sounds. Yes.
All right, the spammers too. They want them.
That. Yeah, I mean, assuming Dorn makes the right decisions, I think Auburn's going to take them apart. I think UC Davis could have just upset Sal if they had a normal quarterback. So Not only that, but both lines on Cal looked overmatched at times, especially Cal trying to run the ball. So the level of competition is going to skyrocket from UC Davis to Auburn. The level of competition is just too much there. So if this was 13, I took it actually at 13. So, and I thought I would grab this before it hit 14. Now it's at 10.5. So I was wrong with the CLV there. But yeah, I'm going to take Auburn. I think this is going to be a blowout personally.
Someone said this is how you know they don't be reading the chat. The chat's about 15 seconds delayed on our end. So by the time we see you guys saying that's muted, we've already fixed it. We're about 15 seconds ahead of you. That's why. So yeah, there's really money coming in on Cal here. Brought this number down. I guess I could see the angle to it. When Mendoza took over at quarterback last year, Cal did have a bit of a passing attack. Took over as a freshman too, so I expect Mendoza to be able to throw the ball this year. But I don't understand how Cal can stop Auburn from just fucking slamming the ball between the tackles. I don't. If Auburn wants to just line up, hand the ball off, I don't know if Cal's capable of going on the road and stopping that. So I guess I would agree with you guys on Auburn. I'm not betting this. What I did, I have Auburn in a chalky ass money line parlay with UAB and I don't even want to admit that I have this. It was UAB, Auburn, and what the hell was the third team? Did you guys see it?
Utah?
I posted it. What?
Utah.
Yeah, in Utah.
I saw that.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess Auburn. I don't know. I'm a little scared of Mendoza going in and making some throws, honestly. Next up.
Speaking of.
Oh, wow. Baylor, Utah up next. Yes, like I said, I just had said admitted is the word I'm going to use because I'm embarrassed about it. That I think Utah will win the game, and I put them in a chalky ass parlay. But as far as covering more than 2 touchdowns, no way. I don't know. I don't think this Baylor team's that bad, and I think their defense is being slept on based on what we saw last year. Baylor brought back a ton of production from last year, and I feel like the consensus is Baylor has this trash defense because last year they were trash. But as far as talent goes, they have players on that defense. It's not like they're like 100th in talent composite. They're like top 40 in the country. So they have players. They just didn't perform last year, and they brought a bunch of production back. So I think Baylor defense is being slept on a little bit, and I think Baylor defense could actually give Cam Rising some problems. Keithy looks sick, though, that tight end. He's going to be an NFL guy. He looks sick. So I think Baylor plus the points would be the move here as far as a pick against the spread. But yeah, like I said, I have Utah money line in a stupid ass chalky parlay.
Yeah, I mean Utah's the front runner to win the Big 12, and I know that Southern Utah game was a blowout, but like I said, the issue with these Week 2 games is nobody plays in Week 1, so it's hard to gauge how these teams are going to do against any type of quality opponent. I think people are sleeping on Baylor, especially their defense. And I'm not a big Cam Rising fan. He threw 15 times. All their running backs had about a 5 yards per carry average. Yeah, I mean, DeJon Stanley had 150 yards on 3 catches. He creates secondary. He can create separation, but I'm not sure it's going to be against these Baylor corners. All 4 corners are in the same system as last year. Aranda's calling the defensive plays all year for them. So 2 interceptions against Tarleton is a little concerning, and Utah's a tough place to play. But I personally don't think Baylor's getting enough respect this year. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a solid quarterback in DeQuan Finn. I'm a big DeQuan Finn fan. I mean, I'm a DeQuan Finn program myself. So if he can get out of the pocket, he doesn't get sacked a lot. He makes pretty good decisions, but as long as his passing is at least just semi-accurate, I think this Baylor team can definitely score and definitely keep it within 2 touchdowns. So, and if this Baylor defense can play up to its competition, I like them to cover here.
Yeah, those stream bots on football morning Saturday, and you'll see a bunch of them tomorrow on the NFL show too. They're crazy, just trying to garner up some clicks right before the game starts. Andy?
I'll be honest, this is the only game that I'm passing on. I won't touch this. On like middle of the week, I said I liked Baylor. I don't like Baylor here, but I also don't like Utah. I think this line's like literally give and go here. I have no idea. So I'm passing on this completely. I know that makes me look weak, but
You already look weak.
I am weak, so it's fine. I'm fine with people knowing.
You didn't need to pass on that to look weak. You've accomplished that.
I like the next 4. So,
buy low on sellers.
No.
I won't buy. Yes.
No, did you see what I did
it.
there? Are you buying on
I got,
sellers?
Yeah. That's a good pun, dude.
You saw that?
This game's gonna be ugly. I don't know what people are doing betting South Carolina, but maybe I'm overreacting. But like, that's the only sample we have of Lenore sellers. It's against Old Dominion at home.
Hold on, Old Dominion's gonna have a decent defensive front this year. Don't be
Lenore
hating.
Sellers look like shit. I don't care about Old Dominion.
Wait. Now he's going on the road to face a Stoops defense? No shot, dude. They're going to get blown out. This is a Kentucky team who in 3 quarters won by 31. Brock Vandegrift looked really good. They're going to be able to throw the ball deep in this one. This South Carolina secondary is not very good. They weren't very good last year. They didn't improve it that very much. I just think maybe I'm missing something, but like I think this is a 2-touchdown Kentucky win easily. This South Carolina team, decent running game. Rocket Sanders, right? He looked fine. A good pass rusher, not a great pass rush overall, but they have one good pass rusher. He looked really dominant in that Old Dominion game, but other than that, his team has no talent around it. I mean, Lenore Sellers was a 3-star recruit who apparently they really like. Don't know why. He didn't look good. Shane Beamer's an awful coach. I just think this is overall just a terrible matchup. Now, you're going on the road, again, to a Stoops defense who he's one of the better defensive coaches in the SEC. They always have a defense that's one of the top 5 in the SEC. So, like, maybe I'm missing something, but this is going to be bad.
Scoop.
Yeah, that Lenore Sellers looked awful. I'm a big Cox fan, but I know he's a freshman, but I think Robbie Ashford should be starting here. I mean, at least give Sellers a little time to
How bad does he have to
learn.
do in practice?
Yeah, I mean, Robbie Ashford sucks in general, but I think he might be better than Lenore Sellers. So, I mean, if that's what Sellers is going to look like all year, basically a running back, I think he ran more times than he threw. I mean, he threw for 5 yards and 5 yards of completion, rushed for 3 yards of carry. So, and the only reason they even won that game is because Old Dominion fumbled inside their own 10 twice. So even without him, this South Carolina team has a bunch of penalties. Their blocking looks terrible. This looks like the same offensive line problems they had last year. Kentucky won last week, and I mean, really, they only played a half a game because of the lightning. Vandegrift looked like an awesome quarterback. So they're a lot quicker than last year in terms of running the offense. Their running backs all look great. This line went from, what is it now? It's 9.5. It was 5 or 6 when it opened. So I still think Kentucky should have an easy game here. South Carolina just isn't good at all. So give me Kentucky.
I think this is an upset spot. I kind of like South Carolina to win.
Cox can't penetrate the hole.
Good Lord. Plus 280, plus 278, plus 290 on Bet365.
Somebody said that they don't trust me because of my Childs take. I was not the only person on
Yeah,
Earth
the whole
that
world was
terrible
like
take.
that.
And also, like,
Terrible
it
take.
was one game, dude.
I think you shouldn't even be on the show anymore, personally.
Honestly, you should have fired me, Kyle. That was that bad.
I'm taking an upset shot on South Carolina. Money line plus 290.
That's terrible. Actually, you should just leave the show, personally.
Rarely do I ever say this. I hope you lose. I really do.
I mean, I put this on the site, so
No, I South Carolina isn't one of my picks for that I posted on the site or anything, but I think it's worth a shot at plus 290.
no respect for Kentucky.
No, not for
Kentucky football is better than their basketball team now.
Vandegrift is fool's gold. That Georgia team does not produce.
You know, I like my 5 stars.
Yep, I know. Like Childs.
I guess I'm the only competent.
Oh, I'm just posted.
I guess so. Then we're in for a real mess.
All right,
Really
that's my upset. There you go. Next up.
Somebody said bro is flushing his money down the toilet.
You'll see.
He does that by paying me every week.
You'll see.
You'll all see.
Oh boy.
You guys didn't notice that was the most one-sided poll the entire planet Earth.
It was bad. I saw it was like 4%.
It was the most one-sided the entire planet Earth. Everyone that's living and breathing in this country is betting Kentucky in that game.
Well, I can't understand.
I stand alone and proud.
Carolina.
Sellers is going to show out. We're going to see the run game going. We're going to see in this game what we saw Kentucky do to Florida last year. randomly ripping off 7-8 yard gains.
I would be I might break the TV if I see that.
So speaking of the Childs, I would pick the 2+ interceptions here.
Oh
said it last week. This Maryland team and their defense is going to be a problem. I didn't see them hanging a 50 spot on UConn. Billy Edwards played a great game. I know 2 of UConn's defensive backs were ejected for targeting. But yeah, highest offensive output from Maryland since 2020. Sorry, my dog's flipping out. With Michigan State, the under was the play last week. I know they have a pretty good defense. But Childs, man, 2 picks, 41% accuracy against an FAU team who, it's a good defense, but I think Maryland's has a way better defense than FAU. So not only that, Michigan State had 12 penalties, 140 yards. They're undisciplined. They didn't even score in the second half. Plus this is the first time Jonathan Smith is traveling to a Big Ten school with a very good defense. I think Michigan State's offensive line is just going to get steamrolled by this front seven. So yeah, give me Maryland here laying the points with a surprising offense. So he might be better than Tua's brother over there. So yeah, let's go.
Nah, Edwards comes back down to earth in a major way. Wetzel, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he comes down to earth. I think it's gonna sound.
Wait, Aiden Childs resurgence? Childs
will play better than he played. He had an awful game. Hopefully he doesn't make the mistakes he made, but I think he'll just be better. And again, Maryland was playing UConn. It was the perfect spot to bet him. I explained it the way that the other day that UConn had probably the worst secondary in the country last year, and they all came back. And they tried to put in a few low-level transfers, and it obviously didn't work. Also got a couple guys ejected for targeting, which doesn't help your secondary at all either. So there was that. So Edwards had a terrible secondary to throw on, so I think he'll come back down to earth. Plus, the Michigan State pass rush is really good. And like I said, on the other side, I think there's this running room for Michigan State's very strong. Quarterback can move. As long as he's not making mistakes, he's fine. Maybe hit a couple deep balls. He was pretty inaccurate with his deep balls, so maybe they won't try to go all out here, but I just think they have to keep this game close. I think talent-wise, these teams are 3 points apart. I just think a little bit of an overreaction to what we saw in both of their games.
David Johnson, I just want to say I appreciate you. David Johnson says, Kyle, I just watched the entire ad instead of skipping. I know you're going to need the money after laying South Carolina. Solid comment. I did bet this game. I'm on the under 44.5, and I know those of you that were watching last week or tailed me last week are like, Kyle, Maryland just smoked you on an under just 6-7 days ago, and you're right. But as bad as Aiden Childs looked, really liked what I saw from the Michigan State defense, and they did lose. It's not like Michigan State's bringing back their entire defense where I expect it to be this huge step forward, but they have a lot of playmakers at the linebacker position, and they were everywhere against FAU. I mean, look, FAU's offense is going to be bad, no doubt, but I think Michigan State's defense is going to surprise us this year, and they played really well in that first week. In fact, Aiden Childs did everything in his power to lose the game last week, and the Michigan State defense saying, nah, we're going to win. So I like Michigan State's defense to slap Billy Edwards in the face with a wake-up call. And I expect Maryland to struggle offensively in this one. Keep in mind, this is a Maryland offense that only brings back 4 starters from last year. The offensive line's gutted. Yeah, they've cooked up on UConn. We were talking before the season that UConn might have the worst secondary in college football. I mean, they're not going to. Billy Edwards isn't going to do that to the Michigan State secondary. So, yeah, I expect. I like the wake-up call for Maryland's offense. But on the other side, the reason I can't take the plus 8.5 is because Aiden Childs, holy good mother of God, what in the hell was that? I mean, he looked so bad. It wasn't just a rocky opener. It was. I watched that game and my reaction was, I can't put $1 of my money on this guy until he shows me a decent game, because that was crazy bad. So yeah, under. I'm on the under. I'm
gonna live and die by Aiden Childs this year.
No, Boston Beckley. I don't control the ads. YouTube does.
Maryland.
I get paid for them, but I don't control. YouTube does.
He also doesn't control when they come on.
No, well, they're different for everyone. Some of you may be seeing it. It's all YouTube personalize it for each person. Like, I really don't know how it works. Google how SEO works, and but yeah, like, so YouTube does like, for somebody they might give an ad every 10 minutes. For somebody it's an ad every 3 minutes. I don't know. All right, what's next?
If I got an ad every 3 minutes, I'm fighting somebody.
Well, the people that get them that frequently they'll get like 5-second ads. Like it customizes it different. Anyway, just App State on the road in Clemson. Bro, I don't know. I mean,
you want to.
Of course, we all want to take plus 17. Every single one of us here, every single one of you watching wants to take plus 17. There's a person out there that doesn't want to take plus 17 with App State. It's the best team in the Sun Belt, or at least they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Klubnik. I'm not a fan of the Clemson team in general. I know they played Georgia, who's definitely the number one team in the country, but they didn't really show me anything. So, and honestly, that game doesn't even help me pick this game. I mean, you're going to go against Georgia and then go to App State. Klubnik still can't throw a deep ball. This is at home, but there's one thing about App State. They're known for upsets. They're known to playing up to their competition. They're also favored to win the Sun Belt. So Joey Aguilar is going to throw for over 30 touchdowns again this season. They play at a really fast pace. So I kind of like the over here. I don't like a side. Clemson's going to play a lot better than last week. Their defense is going to play.
Yeah, really.
The defense is going to play well, but you see their holes against Georgia. So if you're letting Klubnik throw that much, App State should definitely take advantage here. I think Clemson needs to stick more to their running game, but it's hard to fade an Appalachian State team just playing against the competition here. 17 is a lot of points for this team, but I like the over. I think both teams have a great offense, so I won't bet this personally.
I'm going to be on Clemson here. Yeah, that was a disaster what they did on Saturday, right? The second half, more specifically, because it was 6-0 at halftime. But it was a disaster, and they'll have to play better than that, like you said. But also, when we did the previews, I wasn't very high on App State. There's some people picking them to be the Group of 5 representative this year. There's some people picking them to win the Sun Belt, obviously, with that being the case. I don't know. This is one of their worst teams in recent years. They don't necessarily have, like, the depth that they once had. They're losing a lot of guys graduating. Sean Clark, good coach, really good coach, been pretty good since taking over for Drinkwitz, but like I don't necessarily think this is the best App State team, and I think people see the App State logo now and they're like, oh, that's a giant beater, that's great. They're gonna go into I guess they don't call it Death Valley anymore, but gonna go into Clemson and beat them. I don't. This isn't that App State team, so I'm gonna take Clemson coming off just getting embarrassed on national television. Klubnik has to play better for sure, but I think Maffa will get more done in the running game too. I thought he looked pretty bad in that game too against Georgia, but yeah, you can't really take that game into the Georgia defense isn't going to give up many points to anybody this year, let alone Clemson, whose offense looked bad. So this is just a full Clemson has to be better, and they will be. And I don't love the over either because I don't know if App State's gonna be able to score. Clemson's defense
Aguilar,
for a half of
but
football.
the thing is, if Clemson's going to rout them here, App State could definitely score points on Clemson's second unit. Like Aguilar could throw on the second unit, so I kind of like scoops over.
Aguilar can throw on the first unit. Clemson sucks.
I don't know that he can do
at
Carson Beck
Clemson. That's
for half the
crazy.
game.
Well, Carson Beck sucks, and he's a fraud.
Yeah, he's awful. That guy sucks.
Right, Aguilar's better than.
Not gonna be the
Beck.
number one pick or anything.
He can be the number one pick. Just mean he's good.
Georgia's not gonna cover today. By the way, 50 whatever it is.
Next game.
I know. Weird high line. Can't get a line on the Alcorn State Vanderbilt game either. Very upsetting.
What we got? Mississippi State, Arizona State. I mean, after what we saw Arizona State do last week, I have no idea what my thoughts are on this. This is my pass. I kind of want to lay the points.
I mean, Arizona State played way better than I thought, or maybe Wyoming's just terrible. Arizona State's never beaten an SEC team before, so obviously Mississippi State's better than Wyoming. Really, if you trust the Baylor, it's really if you trust the Baylor transfer shape in here. Jeff Lebby is making Mississippi's offense great again. Last year, they had a coach who tried to change the whole offense after Mike Leach died. Didn't work out. So I still don't really believe in this Arizona State team, especially defensively. Even though they showed against Wyoming, it definitely has improved. But like I said, I'm not sure if that's Wyoming's new coach and his first game under him. I'm not all of a sudden trusting an Arizona State team. So this all of a sudden is an electric playmaking offense. I don't see it. Mississippi State's defense may have some holes, especially on their D-line, but even though they're new, I think they get through here. I'll take the points. I mean, I think this is an overreaction a little bit for Arizona State's first game, and Mississippi State's new transfers, but I'll definitely take an SEC team on the road against Arizona State, who I wasn't high on in the first place.
Did you post? Is this one of yours posted on the site?
No.
I believe I did post this.
You're on the Mississippi State too?
I'm on the Bulldogs. Yep, this SEC bias can't get past it. Yeah, 100%. I don't understand. I don't understand the line. I think Mississippi State's getting a little disrespected here. Arizona State did look great. Ran the ball like crazy. They had 5 rushers over 25 plus yards. Mississippi State was a really good run defense last year. Now, a couple of those guys are gone. Brought in some transfers, so this defense should be good in terms of the run defense again. They were toward the top half of the country, maybe in the middle, about 60th last year. They were a bad pass defense, so if Levitt is what he was against Wyoming, then yeah, this is bad. But I think he'll come back down to earth against an SEC defense. Pass rush that'll get to him. I just think this is kind of disrespectful. I think Mississippi State's the better team. Now they're down 5.5 points. So if this game, you're telling me if this game was in Starkville, Arizona State would be pick 'em? That doesn't make sense to me. So like I don't understand that. So yeah, I think this Mississippi State team. Also, they looked great in their game against Eastern Kentucky, who's not a slouch in terms of FCS. So like they beat them like 52-7. So yeah, I think a little bit of an overreaction to what Arizona State did last week. Because now Wyoming plays today, and there's an overreaction in their game too, because they're only like a touchdown favorite over Idaho, who just luckily played a close game with Oregon. Weird things here, weird lines. Like, yeah, this SEC bias is getting to me.
Yeah, I got nothing. I have no interest in this. Next game.
It's just the Hogs. Oh, boy.
Yeah, guys, you can see what's up next in the bottom left of the screen.
People finally got a clue here. Jesus.
Well, with the line?
Yeah, exactly. All week it was 7.5, 7.5. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And it's magically 10 on Sunday.
I'm still gonna hammer Arkansas.
I'm still taking the Hogs.
You should hammer Arkansas.
Still taking the Hogs because it's the right bet.
We got a head-to-head in this one. Scoop's on Arkansas, Andy's on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I bet the 7.5 on I think Tuesday, and I'm so
happy.
happy.
8.5 on Wednesday. So
yeah, well, you're crazy.
You're an idiot on this bet. Dude, completely.
So I want to go back to our conversation with Grissom, who did a great job on our show. I think that was Wednesday. I don't remember the days. Days blend together now. But he brought up Ollie Gordon, that he wasn't necessarily the best in that game against South Dakota State. All that, he had 5 carries in the fourth quarter for 9 yards. That game was out of hand already. They should have never given him the ball in the fourth quarter. So take out that fourth quarter, the dude had like 6 yards to carry. He had a great game when it mattered against South Dakota State. Now he's facing one of the worst coaching staffs and worst defenses in the SEC. I think this is just crazy to me that people were betting Arkansas.
Oklahoma State's defense is terrible. I don't know what you're talking about.
How are they terrible? What about them is terrible?
Did you watch week 1 against South Dakota State?
Yeah.
Or no?
Late in the game,
Gave up most plays of 20 yards or more, 30 yards or more, 40 yards or more, 50 yards or more last season in the Big 12. It's not going to be much better just because all of a sudden it's a new year.
Did Arkansas do in their 70-0 blowout of Arkansas Pine Bluff that impressed you? What, they ran the ball? Good. They were supposed to against an FCS. It was one of the worst FCS teams in the country. Oklahoma State played one of the best teams in the country.
But really listen to the words that came out of your mouth. What did they do that impressed you in that 70-0 win?
Whatever.
Maybe. What did they do to not impress you?
Dude, a 70-0 win against Arkansas Pine Bluff means absolutely nothing. Yeah, I hate the SEC. I absolutely hate the SEC, dude. Because Sam Pittman's not going to get coached circles around today by Mike. Whatever.
Sam Pittman is an awesome. What are you talking about?
Awesome what? Awesome at what? Eating? He's not awesome at anything.
Oh my god.
He sucks. He's an awful coach.
All right. At 10, there's no way, Andy. I'm with Scoop at 10.
No, at this point, I'm not betting it if I didn't have it already because you missed out on your chance. 7.5 was perfect.
He said awesome at what? Eating? So, yeah, I understand Andy saying like the 70-0 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff doesn't move the needle, but it also doesn't move the needle in a negative way either. It won 70-0. Like, they're good. Like, I wouldn't take that as a detriment to the team. Like, what are they supposed to win 115-0?
I'm just saying, like, Oklahoma State was obviously more impressive, and people are acting like Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, Ali Gordon looked
like,
great with that less than 4 yards per carry against South Dakota
I
State.
just explained to you in the first
4
three
rushes.
quarters.
Oh my God.
In the first 3 quarters of the game, when it
Oh
mattered,
my
he
God.
averaged almost 6 yards a carry.
Sam Pittman
That's
overachieves
elite.
every year. Every year.
Put me. I'm with Scoop here. I'm down to bet the Hogs. Honestly, is it still a 10? Can you still get 10s?
Yeah, I think I just looked. It was at 10 still.
I can only see 9.5.
No, I see 10s.
Yeah, there's 10s. DraftKings,
I'm
BetMGM.
bet 365.
I also see
10.
money line too.
Yeah,
So money line might be a good bet. Here.
Yeah, you should bet the money line. You might as well donate your money to
No,
charity.
I already got the Gamecocks money line. I don't need to be doing this.
Add me to Team Andy. I'm on Team Andy.
But prop Peter,
yeah.
on the pokes.
Yeah, I'll be placing my unit on the Cowboys today.
All right, hold on.
Just Donovan Smith ran on him last year, Oklahoma State. So that's great. Donovan Smith on
Yeah,
everybody.
Taylor Green's so much better. Yeah.
Taylor Green is so much better.
All right, let's go. Next game, Hogs up. Me and Scoop. He's a good coach. He's good at what? Eating. What the hell was that? So he hates the SEC, bro.
It's the SEC.
hate him,
I just
bro.
all it
I
is.
hate
It's
the
SEC bias. It's so
I didn't
dumb.
just pick Mississippi State. I didn't speak glowingly about
Those are
Kentucky at
fandom
all.
picks just to like try to hide it. Hide
He
their
took
eyes.
his first favorite team, Georgia, his second favorite team, Mississippi State. And then he picked
What was the poll there? Whoa, 55% Arkansas. Oh shit! So the viewers are on the Hogs. I thought everyone would be betting Ali Gordon and shit there. Interessante. What's next? Kansas, Illinois. My bet's gone in this one. Hopefully you watched the video and got it, or you're in the Discord and got it. If you wanted detail, that is. The bet I have is Illinois first half plus 3.5, but now there's on some books you can't even get threes anymore. I saw Illinois first half plus 2.5, so you could just put Illinois. Yeah, you can't. Just put Illinois plus 4.5 up. Even though I wouldn't bet this. Shit, this sucks because I like my bet, but like I don't
What
like.
was it now?
It's
Is it
plus 2.5 on some sports books now. So, all right. So and then when I did this video, you could get Illinois plus 6 on the full game, and now it's plus 4.5. So just a lot of movement since when I first did this game. Well, I guess not a lot of movement, but some significant movement. All right. So anyway, I like the Illinois side here for the main fact of I like fading the teams that have the glamour without the trenches per se. And Kansas brings back the NFL hopeful quarterback in Jalen Daniels. They got the NFL running back in Devin Neal. They've got wide receivers. They got the tight end. They got everybody. The Kansas is loaded in the positions that fill the seats, right? In the positions that gets everybody on them. But the offensive line, I have questions about. They lost the entire left side. They lost the left tackle, the left guard, and the center. 2 of those players were all conference. And we've seen in a lot of instances where there's some really talented skill players unable to produce on account of the offensive line play. Obviously, we didn't see it last week because Kansas didn't play anybody. But on the road in Illinois, this is a challenging spot here. Keep in mind, last year, the Illinois defense was a little bit of an outlier. Well, a little bit of an outlier in a sense where the DC left, right? He took the Purdue job, and they had a brand new defensive coach in there. They lost a lot of talent. They lost Witherspoon at corner, who went to the Seahawks. So it was kind of like a turnover year for the Illinois defense last year. This year, they bring back almost their entire secondary. They bring back a lot of linebackers. The DC now has some of his guys in starting positions because last year, obviously, he just took over a brand new team. So I like the Illinois defense to take a step forward this year. And if Kansas offensive line is unable to win their battles, I'm going to see Kansas offense struggle a little bit. And I mean struggle a little bit. They're a very good offense. No one's going to shut Kansas down. But if Kansas offense struggles even a little bit, struggles to get pushed on the offensive line, they could be in trouble here because the Kansas defense isn't good. They lost 5 of their 7 in the defensive front. Altmaier is a guy I trust. Altmaier's also a quarterback that's played better at home. He played better in the second half of last season. He also plays really well in the first half of games. Go look at last year's splits for Altmaier. In the first half, he's got like 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, 150 passer rating or something. And in the second half, it's like 4 touchdowns, 6 picks. Way better in the first half. But I don't like this Kansas defense. I think Altmaier's going to throw a few 2 or 3 touchdowns on him. And also, Jalen Daniels, it's his first road game in a calendar year. He's going on the road to the Big Ten. First road game. He haven't played a road game since like September 12th or something of last year. So I think he could be a rattle. I think we could see a Jalen Daniels interception here. So I'm on Illinois, but like I said, I took Illinois first half plus 3.5. So I feel bad that I just talked all that time and really don't have a great bet for you. So sorry about that.
You had your South Carolina. I have my Illinois. I took the money line. You said it. You pretty much said it all. I like the spot for the advantage for Illinois here. If you're gonna be the team with the fantasy football guys, like you say, and not be great in the trenches, this is not the team to go up against, because Brent Bielema is really, really good at building all lines, and I think this O-line's very improved. It wasn't great last year, and I think the defense will be a little bit improved this year. Obviously, they, like he said, they lost to Brian Walters, and they needed a year to adjust, but I think this is a better defense. And it's tough to go into Illinois. Illinois is not an easy place to play. Champaign. There's nothing else to do there but watch football and basketball during basketball season. So, yeah, I think this is a really good spot for Illinois. It's also a sneaky one because Kansas has a lot of hype around them that they can win the Big 12, right? If all things go right, but you can't lose this game because that really messes you up going into conference play.
Yeah, no, terrible bets, guys. I mean, the Jayhawks defense, they're going to surprise in this year. I mean, the secondary is going to be awesome. Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson, two great corners, and then Burrows and Grant are back. So I can see the secondary doing having a big games here. So if Jalen Daniels stays healthy, I think this team is going to get to 10 or 11 wins. Personally, I like this team to win the Big 12 or at least play in the championship game. So they have a ton of skill players like Luke Graham and Devin Neal to really make an impact. So, I mean, this is assuming Jalen Daniels stays healthy. If not, there's going to be a huge drop-off. So, but as long as he's in the game, I'm going to take him laying less than a touchdown to Illinois. And plus, Champaign, what are you talking about, man? There's a lot to do there. There's restaurants, there's beautiful parks. So,
you don't know
I don't know.
about Champaign.
Are you a fucking travel guide?
Yeah, I can help you book it at the Courtyard Marriott over there. So, I mean, it's hard, like you said, it's hard to gauge these teams coming off blowouts, but Daniels did beat Illinois last year. They were up 34-7 in that one before Kansas defense gave up 2 touchdowns. And I know Illinois' offense is very improved, but I think their defense is going to keep up here. So, yeah, I rock chalk get Jayhawk. Both of these, I actually think both lines are better too. So.
Ben Gray says, Andy, how can you do this to my Hogs?
I've been reading these. I'm sorry, because I like Arkansas basketball this year, so maybe if you watch during a basketball show, we can become friends again here with them. But I'm sorry, the football program's just a mess.
Because I'm taking Kansas, but they have beautiful parks. Next.
They have beautiful parks.
Yeah, because, you say there's nothing to do. There's lots to do in Champaign.
This is a fun one. This is going to be a fun game to watch, but it's a tough one to bet.
Very challenging one to bet, because obviously everyone's talking about the Illinois, right? I mean the Illinois,
Idaho,
the Idaho-Oregon game. Oregon obviously shocks everyone by playing that one down to the wire, and the discussion is whether Oregon's offense is a little faulty or whether this is a bounce back spot for them, right? We're trying to figure out where to place this team, and in my opinion, though, I'd say the same exact thing about Boise State, because I think, like most people think, last week was a little bit of an anomaly with Oregon against Idaho. I think you say the same thing about Boise State's defense against Georgia Southern last week. I mean, Boise State brought back their entire defense from last year. Basically, their entire defense. Like 12 of the 14 players that started games for Boise State's defense are back. They brought back everybody, and then they just got lit up by Georgia Southern. So, I don't know. Was it a look-ahead game? It's an opener, though. So it was a look-ahead game. It's a freaking opener. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much to try and unpack here with this one. Is Boise State's defense bad, or do they have a bad game and they're actually pretty good? I expected them to be good, the Boise State defense, but after what I saw with Georgia Southern, I can't trust them on the road. And are you crazy? Against so I have no idea what to bet in this one. Yeah,
I'm just gonna make mine quick. I would lean Oregon, but I think this this is just such a weird game to bet because Oregon coming off that game, they're not going to be asleep like they were. They were asleep at the wheel on Saturday. Dan Lanning's really good at hyping them up. We saw what they looked like against Colorado last year when they were hyped up, ready to go. And now we've seen what they look like when they're not ready to go. And I think it's two very different football teams when they're ready to go. So, and also Boise State, a lot of people talked about them. I talked about them very highly, but they're a mess. I mean, their quarterback situation's a mess. Defense is a mess. The only thing they have going for him is Ashton Genty. He had to run for 300 yards for them to win that game and to score as many points as they did. He's not running for 300 yards against Oregon. It's just not happening. Maybe he can run for 100, cool, but I don't think that's going to get them anywhere near what Oregon's probably going to be able to do to that defense. So I'd lean Oregon, but I'm definitely most likely not going to bet it.
Scoop.
Yeah, so speaking of teams with overreactions, I mean, Oregon looked very average last week. I'm still going to go with the home team. I know Genty's still going to have a good game. I think no matter who he's playing, he should have a great game. But I don't really have interest in backing a team that had a shootout with Georgia Southern. I know Oregon won by 10 and only had 24 points, but really that was from a lack of finishing drives. They had 2 turnovers on downs. They had a missed field goal. They had a fumble. I mean, one of the touchdowns from Georgia Southern was, from Idaho was a short field from the turnover on downs. Gabriel still was 41 of 49 passing, so you can see obviously Boise State can get passed on. I mean, you saw last week, but I mean, Boise State's picked to win the Mountain West by a lot, but the fact that Oregon has a dominant offense that could really shred this defense, if it's any indication of last week, I think this might be a kind of like a 28-point win. And Boise won't have the offense they had against Idaho. I think Oregon's going to have to get pressure up front and cause problems in the secondary. So I would lean Oregon, but I'm not betting it.
All right, 5 games left, and they're the biggest 5. Here we go. Well, actually, I guess the last 4 would be the big one. I don't know how many people consider Texas Tech, Washington.
This game's nothing to me. It means very little to me.
To you.
I looked at it, but I don't see
I'm on Washington State to win here. I'm a little worried that the whole world's going to be on that, to be honest. Didn't scare me off or anything. I'm on Wazoo. I just think this is a really tough ask here for Baron Morton to go on the road in Pullman. Now, it's not that I think Washington State's defense is going to be particularly great this year, but historically, this is a tough place to go play. And Morton, look at his home-away splits. I mean, this is a dude that has struggled on the road. I mean, we've seen him put up some big numbers and have some big games at home in Lubbock, but in Pullman, this is just tough for Morton. I could see Morton struggling, maybe turning the ball over a time or two. But really, on the other side, that's where I think the value is. It's not, and again, it's not that I think Washington State's offense is anything special. It's just on the defensive front. On the offensive line, they have such an advantage here. In a sense that they're bringing 4 of their 5 starters back, and Texas Tech's defensive front is unproven. It worries me a little that I think everyone's going to be taking Washington State here, and overall, Texas Tech is the better team. I mean, they have more talent on the Texas Tech side than Washington State, and everyone's betting Washington State, and that's a little bit terrifying. But the fact that this game's at home in Pullman, and they should get better offensive line play, a more consistent run game, and I think they're also going to win the turnover battle. So I think Washington State wins this one, and I definitely bet this myself.
No, you go, because you probably got more to say than me.
No, not really. Texas Tech had a fun game for sure. They 52-51 to Abilene Christian.
That's another thing I'm worried about is everyone's going to fade them based off that, and I don't necessarily like that.
Well, I think both defenses are a problem. I mean, Texas Tech defense is definitely a problem. They gave up 615 yards. I know Morton and Brooks look great. I have no concerns about how this team is going to use their offense. I mean, same goes for Washington State, even though they're going to win the Pac-12. I mean, they gave up 30 to a Portland State team, and John Mateer looked great too. I mean, this game's going to be a shootout. It's 66.5 over and under for a solid reason. I mean, they don't play defense. Texas Tech especially don't have a great pass rush at all, and just because this game is pretty much a toss-up, I'm going to take Washington State at home just for their home field advantage. So, and you know, even though they don't have much of a defense, I slightly like their pass rush and their defense a little better than Texas Tech. So I would take Washington State.
Are we sweeping Wazoo?
Yeah, I'll just take them for the fact that the sweep. But also, I don't know much about Washington State. I'll be honest. They've only played one game as a team that's not technically a power conference team, and a lot of those guys that were on that team last year left. So like they're a completely different program. So you don't have them. None of the data from last year matters, and they played a nothing game in their first game. So you really just don't know much about them. And yeah, Texas Tech just doesn't excite me on the road. Maybe there will be a lot of points in this one. Maybe really quickly they'll get off to fast starts. So maybe an overall, but that number's pretty high. So just overall, I'll just take Washington State.
All right, next game. Oh God, here we go. Clones. Go ahead, Scoop. Spew your Iowa bullshit. Are you on the under? I'm sorry. Right, Scoop?
Yeah, I am on the number. It's a tough one. I mean, I know the total is 35.5. It's just going to be a tough game overall. Defenses are physical against each other. I know Iowa State's on the rise. I just don't know if they do enough here offensively. So, but then again, I don't know if Iowa does either. So Iowa State has most of their offense back from last year. Still only hung 21 on North Dakota. I'm also just not high on Caden McNamara personally. So this really is going to be a tight, low-scoring game. McNamara didn't look great, especially in the first half last week. It was pretty ugly. So I would lean Iowa State just because I like their offense a little better with Beck. But I expect this one to be like 7-3 at half. So yeah, I guess I would go with the team catching points and a little better offense. But I personally love the under here. I don't think this is going to be any kind of offense whatsoever this whole game.
Andy?
I think Iowa's got a bit of a better offense, I'll be honest. I'm buying in. I know it was Illinois State, whatever, but they looked better. They looked like they were actually running like a somewhat modern offense, if modern was like Y2K. They looked like somewhat decent, which is fine. Cade McNamara, veteran, trust him. The thing that kind of scares me, this is a rivalry game, but I got this at 2.5. And in a rivalry game, I think a field goal is perfect. If at 3, I think you're going to get a push. This game screams ending 3 points to me, a game-winning field goal.
14-13.
14-13 is your score? Okay.
You lose.
No, I got 2.5. I think they win it on a field goal late, but there's not going to be any scoring. It's going to be a boring-ass game. But
boring?
I
This
think
game's
Iowa's
awesome.
boring
This
in
is
terms of
how
like,
this
if
is-
you like action, this is not the game for you.
Oh,
but I think it'll be an
Smash Mouth
interesting game.
football.
No, hold on.
1970s.
Hear me out. Okay. So, do you remember the Chiefs-Rams game that was supposed to be played in Mexico?
52-51, I think.
And people were like, that was the best game ever. And that was a fun game to watch. I'm not trying to say that game sucked. But in a game like that are 52-48, the biggest play of the game is a punt. Because the touchdown's just like, okay. Dude, in a game like this,
Oh, I see what
a 3rd and 7 conversion is like, yo, like a touchdown is huge. And then you watch those shootouts and a touchdown's just like... And then when they make a 3rd down stop for a punt, that's the biggest play of the game. And I just feel like that's backwards. In these, like last night, we were watching the Northwestern Duke game in the chat. It was a low-scoring defensive game, a 1st down. We were like, "Fuck yeah!" Like we were going nuts over like a 3rd and 8 conversion because I feel like that's how football is supposed to be rooted for. Anyway, I'm on Iowa State here. No, neither of these teams have any business laying a full field goal because I don't trust either offense to score points. And it's not so much that I'm saying, oh, both these offenses suck. I actually think Iowa's offense has improved. Finally, they moved on from Brian Ferentz, but Iowa State's defense might be every bit as good as Iowa's, maybe a small step down because Iowa might be the best defense in the country. Iowa State's going to be a top 10 defense, too. They bring everyone back except TJ Tampa, who's now in the NFL. I think he's on the... Forget who he's on, but he's a corner.
Ravens, I think.
No, not the Ravens. I thought it was the Steelers. I might be wrong. But anyway, they lost TJ Tampa to the NFL. Other than that, the entire Iowa State defense is back. So they're going to be right up there with Iowa. This is 2 top 10 defenses that run and the offenses run extremely slow paces. I'm expecting a slow-paced game. Now, I think with Brian Ferentz out, you might see Iowa run a little bit of a quicker pace, but I think I have the better quarterback here in Rocco Beck. Certainly has a higher ceiling. Cade McNamara is more experienced, but I like Rocco Beck. I think he has more talent. I'm getting a full 3 points here. I think Iowa State could win outright, but final score 14-13. I don't care who wins, +3 covers next game.
Maybe I should host the NFL show. TJ Tampa's on the Ravens.
So this game's 3:30. Better games at 3:30 is Baylor, Utah, UNLV, Utah Tech, St. Francis, Kent State. So I would watch all those over the Iowa State game.
Profi, make sure you fish the up next on this one. So the up next is gone. We still have 2 more games after this. We're on to the last few, the big games here. Texas, Michigan. Here comes Square Scoop to give his Square Texas.
Definitely Square Scoop here. I don't know why. A lot of people started to go on Michigan, but the majority is on Texas. So I will definitely be square here. Everyone's betting Texas. All the money and bets are on Texas. But the way Michigan played against Fresno, Donovan Edwards did absolutely nothing. Mullings was a clear back there, so that's concerning. I mean, I just don't see it for Michigan. I'll be on the heavy public side. They completely shut down this Colorado State offense, who I thought would be pretty good, getting a few points. Quinn Ewers looked great. So did Arch Manning. I think Isaiah Bond's going to have an awesome year, definitely over 1,200 yards personally. I think the defensive line needs to do a lot better getting to the quarterback, but their secondary looks phenomenal. I think Texas is going to win this one by double digits. As much as Michigan's defense is great, their offense just isn't going to do enough here to score. So if they're down early, they're going to abandon the run game. Davis Warren is a garbage quarterback. He wasn't impressive the first game. This line's way too low. So, yeah, I'm going to take Texas.
This line's way too low.
Oh, yeah, way too low. Texas should be favored by at least 12 or 13.
What?
Yeah, in Michigan, Michigan hasn't lost at home in, 4 years, I think it has,
2021,
right? Yeah, so in about 4 years. This is not the Michigan team you see from last year. This isn't even the same Michigan team you see from the last 10 years. This Michigan team is fucking awful. So I know you can take your Michigan
still
team.
The big house.
Davis Warren. You can take your Donovan Edwards, who is a garbage running back, and you can shove him up your ass.
Jesus Christ. I'm with him, but not on everything he said. I do think they are better, far better. I don't care about the line. I think Texas is going to win it by 10 or something around that, maybe 10 to 12 themselves. But the line is what it is. It's game at the big house. They don't lose at the big house, whatever. This one, I think Lord BLT said it the other day. He said it perfectly, kind of summed it up perfectly. I think that Michigan is going to play better than they did last week. I think Texas is going to play just as good as they did last week. And if that's the case, I just think Texas has too much. I know it's the square side. I know people are calling me a square in the comments for some of my picks. Like this one, maybe I'm a fool, but I think Texas is just too much for this Michigan team. This Michigan team's not the team that won the national title. The offense is not particularly good. They didn't run the ball well. They don't have Blake Corum. The O-line's a little bit shot. And the quarterback situation scares me. So Texas just has too much.
Yeah, but you're forgetting one thing. It's still the big house, and the stock on Michigan football has never been higher. The place is going to be rumbling.
It's just a building.
You're still laying.
It's just a building.
You're still
seats.
laying a full touchdown on the road to the number 10 team in the country.
Ladder it up to 14.
Michigan plus 7.5 is the bet I currently have. When it was hanging at 7.5 for a while, and I liked the Michigan side, and I kept looking at it, and then finally last night I saw plus 7.5, a minus 120 or minus 122, I think, and I took it. So I have Michigan plus 7.5. Listen, yes, this is not the same Michigan team that won the national championship last year. 100% true. They lost a ton of production from that team. Still a pretty talented team, and that's still the big house that's going to be rumbling. But I want to talk about the Texas side. They have too much, Andy says. Yeah, they got some weapons on offense, and they got the quarterback, but the quarterback is in the big house. It's going to be rumbling. Quinn Ewers is due for a mistake. It only takes one, and I can see him throwing an interception in this one. But also, I want to talk about the Texas defensive front, because we all seem to just bought in on Texas. It's just this elite run defense program right now, right? I mean, the DC's gone, right? DC's gone, and they lost 3 NFL pieces out of that defensive front 7. The 2 D tackles are now in the NFL, and 4, the linebacker, in the NFL. So Texas, this elite run defense, the 3 pieces that made it elite are gone. I think Michigan's going to be able to run the football here, and if you give me some resemblance of a run game, and I could cover a full touchdown at home when I'm expecting Quinn Ewers to throw a pick here. So give me Michigan in the big house. Look at that poll. 72% to 20% on Texas. Let's go.
I want to give a little pushback to your Quinn Ewers in the big house thing. Not only is he a junior or a senior at this point, he's a junior. He's going to be playing in the NFL next year. He went into Alabama and won last year. I don't think this guy's scared of going somewhere.
He'll never make a mistake on the road again.
You can't be a junior and a senior, Andy. It's going to be
he's a junior. My bad. I forgot.
He's a junior and a senior at the same time. Next game, man.
I mean, you could.
What's next?
Right to a junior.
All right, we got 2 left. Tennessee, NC State, and then we got Coach Prime. So Tennessee, NC State. Is my line's gone in this one, isn't it?
I think it's 9.5. Saul.
No, you can still put it up at 9.5. I mean, obviously, the reason I bet it because it had hit 10. Andy, go ahead on this one.
Yeah, I said it the other day. I think this is just two overreactions, right? Tennessee looked great against Chattanooga. But again, that's Chattanooga. NC State looked pretty bad against West Carolina. It was one game, right? I was pretty high on this NC State team coming into the season, like everybody else was. They had a lot of hype. I think some people were more high on Virginia Tech. I was a little higher on NC State. They're not going to play like that again. This is a neutral site game, but it's in Charlotte, which isn't too far from Raleigh where they play. So it's a neutral site that they're just not going to play that badly again. And Tennessee's defense isn't all what it was, right? They didn't give up a point, or they give up 7 against Chattanooga.
They have no secondary.
Yeah, they don't have a secondary. And Grayson McCall's a veteran, dude. He has been through it and back against some good teams in his time at Coastal Carolina, and he regrouped pretty well after a rough start against West Carolina. I think if we get the team that played in the fourth quarter, middle third quarter, fourth quarter last week, I think that this NC State team is 3 points worse than this team, 2 to 3 points worse than Tennessee. Tennessee's the better team, but this NC State team's a very good football team. They were ranked in the top 25 to start the season for a reason. Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to the one rough game against West Carolina. Everybody has had those games.
And it wasn't even a rough game, by the way. It was like a rough quarter.
Yeah, they had a bad first half pretty much, I think, overall, because I think they went into half up 3 or something. So
this is people say the overreaction week 2. This is this game is suffering from a severe case of it. This line opened up at 4.5, 5 before last game. I got an NC State plus 10 based on what? One quarter. Grayson McCall threw a pick 6 on the first drive against Western Carolina. They still ended up winning by 17 points, 3 scores. So yeah, Tennessee looked a lot more impressive in their week 1 matchup against Chattanooga than NC State did in their week 1 matchup against Western Carolina. No question. But who cares? I mean, you still got Nico going on the road. Well, I mean, both, it's a neutral site, but going into Charlotte to throw against the toughest defense he's ever seen in his life. I mean, this is NC State. This isn't a scrub defense. They've actually got some pieces in the secondary. So I can see Nico throwing his first pick. He's another guy that the ceiling is sky high. People are expecting him to be an NFL superstar, and maybe he's going to be, but he's certainly going to be tested along the way, and I'm not going to crown him as this dude we lay 10 points blindly with because he lit up Chattanooga. So I expect to see a mistake or two out of him, and like Andy said, Grayson McCall is the veteran here, and Tennessee lost their entire secondary. You got a veteran quarterback against a team that lost a very young, inexperienced secondary here. Tennessee lost the entire secondary. I expect Grayson McCall to make some plays. I am on NC State plus 10.
Yeah. Razor Sharp picks. Thanks for the $20, by the way, for Kyle.
Oh, I forgot I enabled that. Thank you, Razor Sharp.
Oh, he said Texas, Michigan under 42. So just give them a shout there. So yeah, figure out.
I want to do something where a table of like our friends of the program, where you could see maybe like right above up next, where you could see like the people that we like that come every day, and you could see what they're on. That's what I'm going to work on for next week. But anyway, go ahead, Scoop.
Yeah, I mean, I like NC State here. I know they struggled a ton against Western Carolina, but Tennessee still lost a lot of production from last year. So NC State has a really solid defense. Even though they struggled against the run last week, I think they have a solid chance to bounce back in that department. Also, I think Tennessee secondary isn't good. I think Grayson McCall can definitely find some open receivers. I know Tennessee's a solid front seven, so as long as their line gives them the time to throw, you can definitely take advantage of some holes there, especially with Concepcion. He has big playmaking ability. Tony Gibson, he's a good coach. He's going to make adjustments from last week. He only returned 3 starting defenders, including replacing Peyton Wilson, which is a big loss. But I'm not overreacting from week 1. Plenty of teams struggle week 1. Plus, Jordan Waters as a running back is a beast. So if these Lions can play an above-average game, NC State should be able to cover. I mean, this team still tallied for 521 yards of offense and over 7 yards per play in the win. And a couple of their key starters that missed the season opener due to injury, and they had an earlier ejection last week. So they're coming back. So, and this was 4 points a week ago. So I think this is an overreaction. So give me NC State plus 9.5.
It's a Wolfpack sweep. And then last but not least, we had there you go, NC State for all 3 of us. I got it at 10, but 9.5 is cool too. Last but not least, Coach Prime time. As you guys know, if you watch the video, I am on Nebraska -6.5, and I think you still can get it now. It went up to 7.5. Yeah, so I think, pretty sure you could get this. Let me just confirm that. But Nebraska 6.5. You can still get the 6.5 that I got originally. So yeah, I'm on Nebraska -6.5. Look, this is gonna be a fun one. The discrepancy on the offensive line and defensive front in the trenches, the discrepancy on both sides of the ball is significant here. Nebraska's physical rushing attack should be as good as anyone in college football this year, and they got Dylan Raiola, who, I mean, you could say what the things I said about Nico, you could say the same thing about Dylan Raiola here. Maybe he makes a mistake. You got Travis Hunter in coverage that could certainly make plays. So, but the thing is with Matt Rule, I don't think he's really going to. I don't think he's even going to go out there and be like, oh, Dylan Raiola, be the playmaker here, 500 all-purpose yards and win this game. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he needs to. Hand the ball off, hold on to the football, make Shedeur Sanders play from behind, send that pass rush at him and force him to make mistakes. Keep in mind, this Colorado team with Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime, this new era of Colorado football, never had a good road game against a tough defense, ever. Last year, they played 3 good defenses on the road. They scored 7 points, 16 points. No, 6 points, 16 points, 17 points. So they've never even scored 20 points on the road against a good defense before. Nebraska's defense should be very good. I think we're going to see that Husker pass rush coming, and when they get the ball on offense, they're going to hand it the fuck off. And I don't think there's a damn thing Colorado could do about it. Now, that Colorado offense is loaded. It's going to be fun. The Discord's going to be buzzing for this one, man. The Discord's going to be rolling for this one. I'm on the Huskers. -6.5. There's a graphic in there that says Sauce's line. They're all 6.5. So just put them
I made that when it wasn't all 6.5. So, do you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I agree. I said it yesterday in the office. If you ranked every coach 1 to 134, Prime would be toward the bottom in terms of coaching decisions. Matt Rule would be toward the top. He has turned programs into really good, from pretty much from shit to great pretty quickly, and his coaching decisions are great. So I think they got the coaching advantage. I think they have the trench advantage. I think Colorado's going to get beaten a lot of that this year. We saw North Dakota State looked really good pressuring Shedeur. Now Shedeur's really good at getting around some of those pressures, but I think they're going to be coming out quicker now because this Nebraska's defense is one of the top 15 in the nation. So I think that's tough for Colorado's offense. I do give them credit. Their wide receivers are great, and maybe they can hit a deep pass down the field to keep it close, maybe early. Just don't know if you're going to be able to rely on that the whole game. He's going to be under pressure a lot. And then the other side, Dylan Raiola. I know it was only one game, and I don't want to overreact because I didn't want to overreact on trials either. You don't want to overreact, but he looked really good, and everybody was saying he was going to. They've got a decent run game enough. A really good O-line that blocks well for them. So I just think overall significant advantage talent-wise. I really like this Nebraska spot. Also, this is a revenge game as Nebraska got embarrassed by this Colorado team last year with Jeff Sims at quarterback. That was bad. That was like the first moment people were like, hey, maybe this Colorado team's legit. They went and got boat raced a week later, but this is a complete Nebraska's ready to play this one spot. So Nebraska.
Scoop.
Huskers.
Yeah, I'm not a hater against Dion, so everyone says I am, but I mean, I figured Raiola would have struggles last week. I was pretty wrong. He looked great. I know it was against UTEP's defense, who looked overmatched, but you know what other defense is an absolute pile of dog shit, and that's Colorado. This team is made up of 2 players, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Horn Jr. needs to take a step up. Even with that, both lines on Colorado are complete garbage. So Sanders and Hunter can't do it all. I don't know if Hunter's going to be able to keep this up playing two-way ball the entire season. Talent-wise, he definitely can, but playing against more physical teams like in Nebraska, it may be a problem. But Nebraska's defensive line should be able to take advantage here. Last year, Colorado's line was bad, and last week they had 59 yards rushing. They're just one-dimensional. So Nebraska was already a top team against the run last year. So yeah, Nebraska at home laying less than a touchdown is really the easy bet to make. Plus, I mean, the hype's warranted for Raiola. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. Obviously, he's going to win 4 Heismans and 4 national championships. But and listen, Shedeur Sanders is a great quarterback, and Travis Hunter is a great defensive back and a wide receiver. But I'm sorry, but Deion Sanders is an absolute fucking garbage head coach.
Well, hold on.
He's an what?
There's a lot of aspects to being a head coach, and it's in terms of recruiting and
Terrible.
In terms of
Well, he's a
recruiting and
recruiter.
bringing talent in, he's the best.
Terrible.
In recruiting and bringing talent in, he's the best in the country.
Oh, okay, talent that doesn't work out for his team, so that's great. Good for
I
him.
mean, to be honest, I don't think it's fair to say that. I don't think we've seen it yet.
All right, let's appease the fans. Deion's the best. Deion
At that, he is the best.
Almighty God.
He's the
God.
best recruiter, other than maybe
Yeah.
No,
second.
he is not. What are you guys
Bro,
talking
what?
about?
Colorado was 1-11, and they have
so he's
NFL
the
players.
best recruiter, and then let's get rid of all your transfers that you just had last year.
I-
Guess what?
look,
They're going
if
to
you're
have
gonna
40
talk
transfers
about-
this year. They're going to get
Hold
shipped out
on.
next year. And then
Hold
he's
on,
gonna
hold
do
on.
the same thing over and over and over. The guy doesn't even have half a foot. He's limping around over there.
Dude,
He can't coach. He's a great father.
This is
He's
just
a great
hate.
father. That's all he is. He's an awful coach. He's an awful recruiter. He can't coach worth shit. So no, this team is
I agree
garbage.
with that.
Nebraska's gonna steamroll this fucking team. It's not even gonna be close. This Nebraska team's gonna be like 21. So that's it.
Dude, Razor Sharp Picks goes, Scoop said, I'm not a Deion hater, and 2 seconds later is in all capital letters. Deion hater. Nah, see, Scoop makes it impossible to be on the same side. I'm not a Coach Prime hater
No,
at
I'm
all.
not either.
I hate this matchup against Nebraska.
I think Deion's a good person. I just think he's a
He's a,
terrible coach.
he's a good guy.
He got Travis. He got the
He's
number
like
one.
a LeVar Ball. He loves his kids too. He's a bad coach. I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah, so I want it to be noted that what he just said, what Scoop just said, is not why I'm on Nebraska.
Rob
I'm on
Beaver.
Nebraska because I don't like the matchup.
Above me and in between me and Kyle right here, put not Deion haters. Okay, just so everybody knows that we're not
I'm a
doing
hater.
this
I'm
because
not
of
a
Deion.
hater.
Don't
I
put,
just
but
call
don't
it like
stretch it
it is.
in front of Scoops. Just
Don't
me and
let
Andy.
it say Scoop.
I want
Just
it
me
on my
and-
name too because I think he's a great person personally.
He's a good person.
He's a good person.
Are you implying that there are other head coaches we went
He's
through
a good
today that are not good
personality.
people?
Probably one-
Who are the head
Yeah,
coaches that aren't good people?
Oh,
He's a great
Hugh Freeze is a
personality.
piece of
Probably one
shit.
class
So, I
clown.
mean,
Class clown.
Hugh Freeze is a piece of shit. So,
All right.
Most likely to succeed in high school.
community parlay. We got one of those.
Community parlay. Hit the song. Jesus Christ.
Community parlay, the parlay we bet, yeah.
That came out of fucking nowhere,
For
too.
the community.
Like, yeah, I like the mascot for Nebraska. And Deion sucks. It was like, where the hell did that come from? It's like, I didn't even see it coming. It was like a curveball. All right, let's do the community. I just realized they could hear us talking during the song. My bad. So next up, community parlay. Are you ready, Prop Beaver, for some polls?
Yeah.
Pause. First up, did they voted since they voted Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh.
I'll track next week. I forgot this week.
They definitely voted Texas. These square viewers
Keep it
definitely
hard.
on Texas. Texas money line. You with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Texas money line. Kansas State money line.
What'd you say? Kansas State money?
Yep, and Georgia Tech money line. First leg of the community parlay.
And what was the last one?
Kansas State money line.
I have Pittsburgh.
Georgia Tech money line.
Okay.
Scoop getting canceled week 2. Someone said.
Someone said I'm losing credibility. I don't have any to begin with. So
That's true.
You got to have some first.
right. Love Coach Prime.
We can tell.
He's a
We
good
can tell.
person.
The guy.
Jordan Love's ACL is intact. This is a good
Oh,
moment. For me.
good. Did he just
That's hold on. That's confirmed?
That's all we've got so far. Is Tom Pelissero said that it's intact. They're still running tests. It could be like a strain or sprain, but initial tests, ACL is intact.
What about his MCL, LCL, PCL?
Well,
Kneecap
that has to have
injury.
further testing.
Better
but-
question. What about his talent? Because it seems to
Yo,
be missing.
all right.
What about his
His
50?
talent is
What
torn.
about his 50 completion percentage yesterday?
He tore his talent, bro.
His,
Shout out, am I lying? $5 to Kyle for saying I'm a bum. I appreciate it.
his receivers were dropping passes all over the place.
I didn't know that brought in money. Shit, I could rip Scoop for a profit.
Yeah, I'll keep the Dion takes for the extra money, I guess.
What was the first leg of the parlay?
Texas money line.
Of
like
course it is. Of course it is. All right, so you guys like Texas as the first leg of the community parlay. Prop Beaver's putting it on the screen now.
Road in the big house, guys.
Hold on, it's he's put it community part. This is some people might not know what it is because it's new sport.
I know people get scared.
We're like, why does it say Texas money line? What does it mean? All right, community parlay. If you're new to the show, pretty much everyone knows what this is by now.
It's a bad value parlay.
So actually, they voted Arkansas. So give them Hogs money line in the poll.
Oh, you might as well just rip up the community parlay if that's voted.
It's not the Andy parlay. It's the
I
community
know. I'm
parlay.
just saying. You might as well rip it to shreds if they pick
Well, why don't
Arkansas.
you let the community vote on it? Auburn money line.
I never mind
It's just a
Auburn
house,
money line.
Andy. It's just a
It's
building.
just a building. It's a building, some seats. It's all really all it is
and
bricks.
Kentucky
That's all
money
it is.
line.
That's all it is.
Cast your. It's just a building.
There's gonna be half the comments are gonna be me hating Dion after the show,
Yeah, definitely.
but it's not hate. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
It sounded like hate. It sounded
It sounded-
like.
it sounded
It's
supremely like
just
hate,
emotion.
actually.
It's emotion about how good Nebraska is.
Scoop knows ball. He's on Arkansas and hates Prime. He's a damn.
Jordan
I
Love.
don't hate Prime. I just think he's a fucking miserable coach.
Jordan Love out 6 to 8 weeks, broken ability to throw touchdown passes.
He was
He had two of them
putting
yesterday.
he was putting balls in some
What was
good
that?
spots and guys were just dropping them. Yeah, he was putting balls in good spots. He just couldn't.
Wow.
I mean, some of the drops.
Why are you
Contagious
holding a
with it
football,
told him
dude?
yesterday.
Yeah, enough.
I don't know,
Who the
but
fuck
I like
do you
it.
think you are?
And he's about to go take the field.
Looking like
What's
Jake
the second
Fromm.
leg?
We only have 33 votes in.
Well, I mean, most people that are left are watching on their TVs. So.
That is true.
5, 4,
Pause.
3, 2, 1, end poll.
I really should have paused it a bit earlier. Would have been Arkansas. It's at Auburn.
Auburn.
Is it?
Yes.
It's Auburn. All right,
It's Auburn.
Arkansas didn't make
Hell
the cut.
yeah! Thank God.
Close.
So far, I'm betting along with it,
So Maryland money line is next.
which might be a bad thing for some people.
Yeah.
And he can throw that football over mountains.
Okay, Maryland money line.
Yep.
I got a gun.
Put Kansas money line.
Kansas money line.
UAB money line.
UAB money line. Scoop gives out tug and chugs at American Dream. Nice.
Thank you.
Can
I'll do it.
attest. Virginia money line.
Virginia.
Can confirm.
Yes, give me Virginia.
Yeah, can confirm for sure.
Cast your votes. Cast your votes. Hey, thanks for the super chat. That's new.
I think Maryland.
I never enabled that. I'm not. It's crazy that like I have this YouTube channel, right? And I've done such a little amount of exploring in the YouTube menu, like the options. Like there's probably so much cool shit I'm not taking advantage of. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. And yeah, that's something I'm gonna set up where if you're like the people that are here all the time, you know, I think they that are here like making picks. And people want to know. People come to hear what those people say in the comments. So I'm going to put something on the screen, and it's going to be like an interactive sheet where they have the app on their phone and they can submit their pick for the game, and it'll pop up like Helms, Auburn -11. So you can see like where the friends of the program are on, and it'll be on the screen. I think that's a good idea, and I think people would like that.
Final lag.
Who was in?
Maryland.
Terps. This is okay. Terps. Nebraska money line. Tennessee money line. Washington State money line. And did they vote for Arizona State or pick a second place for the last one?
Okay.
Don't you dare.
I'm doing it.
Put the Hogs back in, baby. Hogs are getting another shot.
Oh my. That one was the hog, I think. I think that
was
the hog.
that was Proppy versus Hog.
Come on, boys. Get him back in there now.
Oh,
That
Lord.
noise means we have not gotten much sleep.
Better get him in quick though. The game's about to kick off, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Come on
it's
now,
perfect
get-
timing. It's 12
Get
o'clock.
those
and they're
hogs back in there now,
Perfect
boys.
timing. Hell yeah.
What the
gonna be-
hell?
it's gonna be
It's Nebraska by a mile.
Okay, it's Nebraska.
All right, let me get the odds for you guys real quick, and then we'll call it. Go enjoy your Saturday. The odds are.
Oh no, we got an underdog.
Oh, underdog pick 'em.
Throw it up there.
Throw it up for Andy. I'll get the
Well-
odds while he's doing that.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Only got 4 minutes. Save the one. I hesitate.
Two of them are in the Michigan-Texas game.
All right.
All right. So Davis Warren, over half an interception, or higher than half an interception. threw one against Fresno State last week. He's going to be facing a tough pass rush, tough overall secondary for the Texas defense. So that's an interception. I think that's coming. Isaiah Bond, just a repeat. Lord BLT kind of explained it pretty well a few days ago. He's going to get a lot of deep routes in this one against a Michigan secondary who they're not going to be Texas isn't necessarily going to be running the ball in this one, so he's going to get a lot of those slant routes, deep balls. So I think that's a good one. And then the last one's Eli Holstein. Guy looked like a stud last week, so I'm buying in. Higher than 263.5 passing yards against Cincinnati, who gave up 244 passing yards to Towson. So
Cincinnati's defense is going to surprise you. If you don't have an underdog account, it's available in any.
Is it upside down?
Take the corner and drag it through the other corner.
Take this one.
Yes, and drag it top right. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Now take the left side and drag it across the right side.
Hell yeah, brother.
I was trying to tell you that. All right. So anyway, the free square for this weekend is Dak Prescott over a half. Was that completion?
That's a passing yard.
Pass yard. So that's the free square. You could use that in your first pick 'em if you're located in one of the states in this map.
Oh lordy.
It's huge.
It's so big that we'll have to get it to you guys later.
Why don't you just shrink it? All right, never mind. So it's anyway. If you're in one of the underdog states that's on this map, the promo code's bet. How about this?
It's so big.
It's a 50% deposit boost up to $1,000 if you use the promo code bet. So if you deposit $2,000, they'll give you $1,000 free to play with if you're located in one of these states.
This is the map.
Everyone. Oh, the odds for the community parlay is plus 208 super square. Let's get a hit. Put plus 208 so I can screenshot it later if it hits.
Absolutely.
It's so big.
It's so it's so big.
Good Lord, what happened?
The map's so big.
I need to sleep. Plus 208. Everyone, go enjoy your college football Saturday. Tomorrow, NFL show. Me, Prop Beaver, Toast, and Just a Bet Outside. There'll be 4 of us. The NFL show usually gets pretty funny. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Probably be live a few minutes early, talking some shit through. 11 a.m. Eastern time, NFL show. Enjoy your Saturday. Later.
Go Pokes.
Oh, top 5. I have a top 5 bets posted on the website. If you guys want to see my top 5 bets, it's posted under KyleKirms.com. I actually added a 6th, so it's top 6 bets. Also 2 parlays